Chapter 4365. It turned out that the giant hand above Chang Yu's head was only used to lure the enemy. It was only an empty shell, and Chang Yu had actually fallen into the enemy's trap. Chang Yu's body shattered, and as his flesh and blood scattered, a 1-foot-long crimson infant flew out from the top of Chang Yu's head. This nascent soul held a shuttle-shaped magic treasure in its hands, and its face was filled with anxiety. Just as the nascent soul was about to activate the magic treasure, the light from the magic treasure flickered several times, and the flying shuttle that was trapped by the halo could not escape. The nascent soul spat out a mouthful of true yuan, which landed on the flying shuttle in its hands. The heaven-earth yuan qi around the flying shuttle condensed into a hurricane, but unfortunately, the flying shuttle had just taken shape and could not fly out. The giant hand that tore through Chang Yu's body rose again, and once again enveloped Chang Yu's nascent soul. At this time, Chang Yu no longer cared about counterattacking. Instead, the light around his body flashed rapidly, and a small part of his body was rapidly disintegrating. It seemed that he wanted to use teleportation to escape. It was also at this time that Lan Wang opened his mouth. Swoosh! A sword-like golden light rushed out, and the golden light streaked across the sky. Pooh! It pierced into the nascent soul's body, and Chang Yu's nascent soul that had just disappeared reappeared, and it was rapidly shrinking towards the golden light. Then die! Chang Yu saw that he was no match for the enemy, and knew that there was no way out. Boom! His entire nascent soul exploded. Seeing this, Lan Wang urged the nascent soul's hand, and hurriedly shouted at the group of Golden Core cultivators, Senior Qing Su, "Quick! Don't let him attract the attention of others." Behind the Golden Core cultivators, Spiritual Master Qing Su's figure appeared, but he did not listen to Lan Wang's words. Instead, he raised his hand, and the dozen or so Golden Core cultivators who were unprepared were all caught by him, and their magic power was sealed. "Senior." Lan Wang was shocked. "What are you doing?" Spiritual Master Qing Su did not answer Lan Wang at all. Instead, he waved his hand, and the dozen or so Golden Core cultivators were all thrown into the explosion of the nascent soul. Pa pa pa. A series of explosions sounded, and blood splattered everywhere. Minced flesh and broken limbs fell from the air, and pew pew pew. They fell into the pitch-black pool. Qing Su Jinren, what are you doing? Seeing that Chang Yu's nascent soul had disappeared in the wake of the shockwave, his nascent soul's hand had also collapsed from the explosion, and the entire pool had been blown up into the air along with the countless algae and lotus flowers. When the pool water fell back down, it was soaked in the blood of a dozen Golden Core cultivators. In the entire sky above the pool, other than himself, there was only Reverend Qing Su. Prince Lan could not help but say angrily. Taoist Master Qing Su did not answer. He raised his hand and pointed. The halo fell and Chang Yu's flying shuttle fell into his hand. Spiritual Master Qing Su stroked the flying shuttle which was still unyielding like a spirit snake inside. Spiritual Master Shao, oh Spiritual Master Shao, you are indeed a genius. The magic weapon you casually gave to your disciple can be so powerful. This old man is truly impressed. Spiritual Master Qing Su opened his mouth and a spiritual talisman fell down, imprisoning the flying shuttle and keeping it in his arms. Only then did he release his divine sense to check for a moment and said to Prince Lan, "Since Chang Yu is in danger, how can you not be injured? Since you are injured, how can your disciples return alive? Moreover, these disciples have seen you kill your own junior brother. Do you think you can rest assured that they are still alive? But these are my trusted disciples that I have painstakingly cultivated." Prince Lan was really angry. The entire fortune gate will be yours in the future. Do you still care about these small sacrifices? Taoist Master Qing Su took out the universe ring from his bosom and threw some demon race corpses into the pool. He smiled and said, "Moreover, after you kill Xiong Yi and bring these disciples back to the hidden immortal mainland, not only will the Grand Mist Ancestor reward you, he will also send you more subordinates. These disciples today are nothing. I am not greedy for the ancestors' reward. I just don't want the fortune gate that I have painstakingly built to be destroyed." Prince Lan was still angry. Spiritual Master Qing Su smiled and waved his hand. There is no need to say any more. Chang Yu's death must have attracted the attention of the Fortune Gate's disciples. Moreover, Xiong Yi will be here soon. You better think of an explanation quickly. Prince Lan snorted coldly and didn't say anything. He knew that spiritual master Qing Su was telling the truth. However, he only flew for 1,000 feet before he cursed, "Damn it! How could Chang Yu arrive first? How could his death not arouse Xiong Yi's suspicion? How should I kill Xiong Yi? Moreover, why was this Chang Yu so stubborn? Master can't save him, so why can't he protect the Fortune Gate? Since you can't kill him, then follow the ancestors' plan. Bring the disciples to attack by Qingyu and find an opportunity during the battle. The ancestor will also arrange for disciples to assist you. Even if you can't kill Xiong Yi, your prestige will surpass Xiong Yi's. When you return from the Thousand Beasts sacred land to the soaring Dragon Mountain range, Li Xiang will naturally be under you. His Highness Lan's and Reverend Qing Su's voices grew softer and softer as their figures disappeared. The waves on the pitch-black pool still could not calm down and the color of blood did not disappear. Even though the flesh and corpses had fallen into the deep pool, the traces of blood were smeared on the algae. After the time it took to finish a meal, the smell of blood had faded away, and the water in the pool had also gradually calmed down. At a corner of the pool, a lotus flower that was a few feet in size quietly bloomed, and an incomplete nascent soul emerged from it with shock and weakness. Wasn't that Xen Ping's nascent soul, who had escaped from Yizhao Ridge earlier? Xen Ping's nascent soul didn't dare to stay here for long. He forcefully sucked in a breath of heaven and earth origin energy, and his body emitted a dim light. He randomly found a direction and hurriedly fled. What? Junior brother Chang Yu was in danger? Although Xiong Yi was very sad when he heard the news of Chang Yu's death, there wasn't much surprise in his tone. After all, from the hidden immortal continent to the Thousand Demons' sacred territory, he had lost close to 50% of the Fortune Gate's disciples. Moreover, when he was passing through the demonic demon race's territory, he had encountered the demonic demon race's patrol team. Coincidentally, the patrol team had a mountain patrol envoy. Although Xiong Yi and the other Fortune Gate's disciples had killed the patrol team, they had paid a heavy price, and Xiong Yi himself was also injured. If Xiong Yi was already in such a state, how could Chang Yu, who had just stepped into the early nascent soul realm, be any better? Therefore, Xiong Yi didn't have any doubts about Prince Lan's words. Aye, that's right. At this time, Prince Lan's face was also pale, as if he was injured. Junior brother Chang just arrived here and realized that senior brother didn't arrive in time. He was worried and insisted on bringing his disciples to welcome you. How could junior brother let him come? Thus, he brought his disciples to welcome you. Junior brother Chang was afraid that junior brother's strength wasn't enough, so he insisted on following me. In the end, an hour ago, we met the demonic demon race at the lake on the mountain ridge. Prince Lan choked as he said this. Junior brother Chang Yu and a dozen of junior brother's disciples died in that battle. In order to protect junior brother Chang Yu self-detonated his nascent soul and perished together with the mountain patrol envoy. Ai. Xiong Yi sighed and patted Prince Lan's shoulder. Junior brother, don't blame yourself too much. Bring me there to take a look. Prince Lan was overjoyed. He raised his hand and pointed to the distance, but stopped Xiong Yi. It's there, but junior brother doesn't recommend senior brother to go there. Junior brother clearly saw that junior brother Chang Yu didn't leave behind any remains. Moreover, the mountain patrol envoy died. Who knows if their mountain patrol master will come? Did you bring back junior brother Chang's belongings? Xiong Yi asked again. Junior brother Chang's natal magic treasure has already exploded. Junior brother didn't have time to pick up his storage bag, so it should have fallen into the lake. Prince Lan didn't take these things back then because he wanted to lure Xiong Yi back. However, Xiong Yi thought for a moment and sighed. If you didn't take them, then don't take them. Most of junior brother Chang's belongings were left to the soaring Dragon Mountain range disciples. Whether we can return today is still a question. What do we need those things for? After saying this, Xiong Yi instructed, let's go quickly. After we meet up, we'll quickly change locations. Since we've already attracted the attention of the mountain patrol master, It's inevitable that there will be a big battle. Yes, senior brother. Prince Lan couldn't help feeling disappointed, but he didn't dare to refute and nodded his head in agreement. Although Xiaohua had made it clear before leaving the soaring Dragon Mountain range that the entire Fortune Gate would be jointly managed by Xiong Yi, Prince Lan, and Li Xiong was different from Xiong Yi and Prince Lan. He was more of a supervisor. Compared to Xiong Yi and Prince Lan, Xiong Yi was more proficient in sect affairs and had great foresight. His ability to judge the situation and size up the situation was better than Prince Lan's. Therefore, although the two of them discussed many things, and Xiong Yi also listened to Prince Lan's opinion, Prince Lan was well aware that he couldn't compare to Xiong Yi. The matter of going to the Thousand Beasts sacred land to save Xiaohua was also arranged by Xiong Yi. When the two nascent soul cultivators returned to the Forest Sea, the Fortune Gate disciples all sighed when they heard that Jianghu had fallen. However, Jianghu didn't have many disciples, and the number of Fortune Gate disciples that died this time was too high, so no one suspected anything. When they received Xiong Yi's order, they hurriedly packed up. Some flew, some escaped, and some rode on flying boats. More than 10,000 people quickly moved to another location. Xiong Yi was naturally with Royal Highness Lan. At this time, he had already taken a pill, and the color on his face had slightly recovered. He frowned and asked Royal Highness Lan, "Junior brother, has Patriarch Ingbo of the Lui Merchant Union not arrived yet?" "Yes." Prince Lan nodded and replied, "Junior brother has been waiting here for more than 10 days, but I haven't seen any demonic beasts from the Flowing Merchant Union. Moreover, we didn't set a specific time with him. Judging from the itinerary, it should be in the next few days." Xiong Yi pondered for a moment and nodded slightly. "This place is not far from Bai Qingyu. If we continue forward, I'm afraid we'll attract Beast Monarch Bai Qingyu's attention. We can only wait here for a few more days. After we meet up with Ingbo, we'll find a suitable solution." Chapter 4366. Senior Brother. His Highness Lan tried to sound Huang Xiaolong out. "Ever since Ingpo sent a message to our Fortune Gate, there hasn't been any news from him. Even though he was the one who arranged the 3 groups of disciples' route to the Fortune Gate. However, there hasn't been any news from him after such a long time. This junior brother feels that something is wrong." "What's wrong?" Xiong Yi smiled. "The Endless Stream Commerce Union took the initiative to come to our Fortune Gate, and at the same time, presented Master's token. In the past 200 years, our Fortune Gate and the Endless Stream Commerce Union have grown closer. As we grow, so do they. From what Ingpo said, the Endless Stream Commerce Union's development is inseparable from our Fortune Gate, and even more inseparable from Master. Without Master, the Endless Stream Commerce Union wouldn't exist today. If Ingpo was a demonic beast, this junior brother wouldn't think too much. After all, Ingpo is also a demonic beast that values friendship. He wouldn't do anything to betray Master." His Highness Lan replied, "However, Ingpo is not only a demonic beast, he is also the patriarch of a tribe, and represents the Endless Stream Commerce Union. For Master, we can disregard the price and come even if we know it's a dead end, but what about Ingpo's tribe? May not be." Xiong Yi raised his head and saw that the sky was already covered with dark clouds. The originally clear sky was unknowingly covered by a strong wind, and not only did the wind fail to blow away the dark clouds, it even added to the bleakness of the sky. Xiong Yi looked at the clouds in the sky, and a strange light flashed in his eyes as he replied, "Everything depends on the will of the people. Justice only exists between heaven and earth." Xiong Yi's words were sincere, but His Highness Lan snorted disdainfully at his words. However, His Highness Lan didn't dare to say anything, and only replied, "Yes, junior brother understands." Right at this time, the scouting birds suddenly dove down from the clouds in the sky, heading in a certain direction. Seeing this, Xiong Yi's expression was neither happy nor sad as he ordered, "Junior brother, go take a look. If I'm not mistaken, Ingpo should be here." "Yes, senior brother." His Highness Lan was a little surprised by Ingpo's arrival. He nodded and flew over to where Ingpo was. Sure enough, not long after, dozens of Ingpo's clansmen hurriedly rushed over. After saluting Xiong Yi, they presented their jade eyes to him and respectfully said, "Xiong sect leader, our clan heard that Taoist Master Xiao is in trouble. Therefore, we came here with the full strength of our clan to rescue him. Because there are too many people, if we were to stay together with the disciples of the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range, it would be easy to attract the attention of other demon clans. Therefore, our patriarch sent us here to lead the way for the disciples of the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. Patriarch will lead more than 6,000 of our clansmen to set off from other places. As for the specific details, please check the Jade Eyes, Sect Head. Hiss. When Royal Highness Lan heard this, he unconsciously sucked in a breath of cold air. He understood the situation of the Ingbo clan. In the early years, the Ingbo clan lost their place of residence in the Thousand Demons' sacred realm due to fighting. The entire clan moved to the hidden Immortal continent, and that was how the Luo Yi Merchant Union came into existence. In other words, the Ingbo clan only had a little more than 3,000 people back then, and was on the verge of extinction. Although after more than 200 years of recuperation, the Luo Yi Merchant Union had now reached more than 10,000 clansmen. However, the Luo Yi Merchant Union was also very large now. For the Ingbo clan to send more than 6,000 clansmen to rescue Xiao Hua, it was indeed the strength of the entire clan. This made Royal Highness Lan really unable to understand. I thank you on behalf of Master. Xiongyi nodded slightly. I won't say any more superfluous words. Everything will be discussed after we rescue Master. We understand. That demon was very clever. After saluting, he quickly left. Xiongyi picked up the Jade Eyes and looked at it for a moment. Then he said to Royal Highness Lan, pass down the order to all disciples. 3 days later, according to the plan, we will attack by Jianghu. Yes. At this point, how could Royal Highness Lan still dare to say half a word of objection? He could only go along with it and think of another set of countermeasures in his heart. The clear sky was gone, and the clouds were dense. Wind and clouds were coming. Would the heavy snow be far away? Looking at the layers of clouds above by Jianghu for more than 10 days, the cold wind blew again and again, but there were no raindrops falling. And on this day, finally, a little bit of snow was born from the layers of clouds. It transformed into a salt pan and sprinkled down, as though it was adding some flavor to the feast. The heavens are really helping us. Bai Qingyu's demon monarch Bai Qing's slightly hoarse voice drifted in the snow. The human race often says that drinking wine in the rain and eating meat in the snow are the two greatest pleasures in life. Now, seeing that my Bai Qingyu's feast is about to start, even the heavens want to attend it. Yes, congratulations brother Bai, congratulations brother Bai. Ancient Bell Mountain's demon monarch Anai Quan's voice sounded at the same time. This is the omen of Bai Qingyu's great prosperity. I'm very envious. I don't dare. Bai Qing laughed again and said, with Ancient Bell Mountain and concealed Sky Ridge in front of us, how would I, Bai Qingyu, dare to talk about prosperity? It's only because there's another demon brother behind me that I have the guts to add some jokes to the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Yes, it's rare for the Thousand Demons' sacred realm to be so lively. The demon king of Shrouding Sky Ridge didn't continue to flatter her. Instead, he followed Bai Qing's words and said, today, Bai Qingyu's banquet actually attracted humans, demons, and even dragons. It truly surprised many demon kings nearby. Come, let's toast brother Bai. Anai Quan continued. Please. All the demon monarchs and demon generals congratulated in unison. The liveliness drove away the coldness in the entire world. The place where the voices came from was the foothills in front of the Heavenly Dam water prison. Now, a feast had already been set up. At the top, the 3 demon monarchs were raising their cups. On the stone table in front of them, bloody meat was steaming with the smell of blood. Below the 3 demon monarchs, there were many greater demons raising their cups to congratulate them. Below the greater demons, there were dozens of demon generals who were either prostrating, sitting cross-legged, or leaning against the wall. All of them raised their wine cups and held bloody meat in their hands, shouting loudly and making a racket. What a lively scene! After 3 rounds of drinking and a little bit of meat, the liveliness died down a little. Bai Qing was a little displeased. He released his Yuan will to look around and asked loudly, "Where's the mountain patrol?" "I'm here." A demon of the 6th grade Yuan Qi flew out from the foothills and bowed respectfully. "The feast has already begun. Where's the promised feast?" "Yes, Your Majesty. I've already followed Your Majesty's instructions and retreated the demon soldiers in by Qingyu's 4 realms," the mountain patrol hastily replied. "I think at this moment, those tough humans..." Before the mountain patrol could finish his words, demon monarch Pringjun's eyes suddenly flashed with golden light. He laughed and said, it's coming, the liveliness is coming, as expected." And I Quan also looked up into the distance and laughed while clapping his claws. The group of greater demons also turned their heads and looked in that direction. Seeing this, Bai Qing shouted, "Don't release your primordial thoughts. Don't disturb our food." Then he turned his head and shouted, "Come, pass my order. Beat the drum and start the feast. Open the demon array." "Yes, Your Majesty." The mountain patrol answered and raised his hand to take out a triangular flag. As he activated his demon energy, a demon cloud flew out from the flag and landed between the mountains and swamps. Boom! At the place where the demon cloud landed, hundreds of tricolored light pillars shot up into the sky and enveloped the space within 100 miles. These light pillars slowly fell from the sky and intertwined with each other. A huge light screen slowly unfolded in front of the foothills. On the light screen was a scene 10,000 miles away. Before the demons could see what was on the light screen, dong dong dong, the sound of war drums sounded from above their heads again. The demons looked up and saw hundreds of shell-type demons stretching out their transmogrified tentacles. The tentacles held drumsticks that were a few feet thick and were beating the huge drum that was more than 100 feet in size. The sound of the drum spread in all directions. Before the sound of the drum, the halo caused by the light pillars stirred up the clouds. Layers of clouds surged in all directions. At the end of the turbulent clouds, between the towering mountain, 4 rainbows streaked across the sky. The divine will also swept across the sky like a surging river. When it swept across the 5-colored halo that covered the mountains and swamps, the halo produced layers of ripples. Many illusions appeared between the ripples. When the divine will fell into it, it immediately showed signs of dissipating. The 4 divine wills did not dare to delay and quickly retreated. When the rainbows stopped in midair, Zhang Daoren, Sun Kong, Zhai Xingzi, and Gusuqiodi appeared in the clouds. Unsurprisingly, the 4 of them all showed a trace of paleness on their faces. Their eyes were also filled with shock. "We're finally here." The shock in Gusuqiodi's eyes faded. Unconsciously, she revealed a sense of relief. She muttered in a low voice and turned to look at the direction they came from. Using her injured divine will, she said again, "Xingzi, I'm afraid the people from the Xianhuang token will catch up soon." "That's right." Pity appeared on Zhai Xingzi's face. He said again, "We've been in a hurry. Now that we've finally stepped into Bai Qingyu's sphere of influence, we have no regrets even if we die. However, Qior, it's been hard on you." "It's okay." Gusuqiodi narrowed her eyes and looked at the 5-colored halo that began to fill the area ahead. She was not inferior to men. She smiled and said, "Accompanying my husband for a day is equivalent to accompanying the Xianhuang Immortal Palace for 100 years. I've been with my husband for so long and I'm already filled with happiness. I once swore that I don't want to be born on the same day, but I want to die on the same day. It's my fortune to be able to go to the netherworld with my husband today." Zhai Xingzi was a bit choked up. He held Gusuqiodi's hand and said, "If I don't die today, the first thing I do when I return to the hidden immortal continent is to go to the Gusu clan to ask for your hand in marriage. Not to mention being bullied, even if I'm beaten to death, I'll accept it." Zhai Xingzi. Every woman wanted a proper status. Even Gusuqiodi, who was a 5th-level origin power grandmaster, could not escape the nature of this kind of woman. She knew that Zhai Xingzi's status was far from hers, and the Gusu clan would definitely not agree. Furthermore, she had faked her death, so it would be extremely difficult for Zhai Xingzi to officially marry her. Now that she heard Zhai Xingzi's words, she couldn't help but feel sad. Tears even flowed down her face. She nodded and said, My husband is right. What I have to face. I have to face eventually. I want to be my husband's real wife. Chapter 4367. Well said. Zhang Daoran and Sun Kong also clapped their hands and said, let's make an agreement here. After we survive here, we will go with Taoist Master Shao to Gusu clan to ask for her hand in marriage. Thank you, uncles. Gusu Chiodi's face blushed and she replied in a low voice. Boom. As she spoke, more than 10 demon clouds flew out from the 5-colored halo in the distance. 5 demon generals led thousands of demon soldiers and surrounded them with weapons. Alas. Sun Kong sighed and said, we originally wanted to sneak in quietly and find a chance to rescue Xiaohua. Who would have thought that not only did the Immortal Palace's Xianhuang token intercept us halfway, but even Bai Qingyu's Demon King was prepared. This trip is really a dead end. Even if it's a dead end, we still have to give it a try. Zhang Daoran looked at the demon generals flying over and said word by word, seeing that Taoist Master Shao is in trouble, if we don't give it a try, how can we be at ease? Kill. Sun Kong Shangren roared and slapped the top of his head. A beam of light gushed out and landed in midair. Then, Sun Kong Shangren's body flashed with a green brilliance. His nascent soul dharma body had expanded to 1,000 feet in just a moment. Woo! Sun Kong opened his mouth again, and his magic treasure soared into the sky. The shrill sound of wind whistling came from the magic treasure, and wind blades sharper than flying swords shrouded the space of 1,000 feet. Then, Sun Kong's nascent soul avatar flew up and formed seals with his hands, and the wind blades attacked a demon general flying over. Upon seeing venerable Sun Kong reveal his nascent soul dharma body, the demon general also let out a loud roar and the 5-colored light around his body began to sway like ripples. Within the light, several hundred pillars of light that were invisible to the naked eye fell from the sky. Muffled booms continuously rang out nearby as the demon general's body began to swell. In just a short moment he was already over 1,000 feet in size. Exalted Master Sun Kong's wind blades crossed the vast sky and enveloped the space around the fiend general. The power of the domain and the wind blades seemed to have cut through space. However, when the wind blades fell on the demon general's halo, ka, sounds suddenly rang out. The halo was cut and annihilated under the power of the domain, but under the halo, the demon general's hard shell only had white scratches. It couldn't cause any substantial damage to the demon general. Seeing this, the demon general couldn't help but laugh. Humans are just blood-eating ears. While speaking, the demon general's shell suddenly opened, and a dazzling brilliance rushed out like the sun. The space imprisoned by Sun Kong instantly collapsed under the brilliance, and where the brilliance landed, the wind blades were cut and neatly cut into several pieces. The brilliance produced a boundless suction force sucking the wind blades. Damn it, what is this 5-colored brilliance? Why is it so powerful? Sun Kong was shocked and quickly activated Heaven Howl again. The treasure let out a powerful roar and yellow light came out of all the holes at the same time. When the threads of light fell into the air, they strangely twisted together. Mysterious creatures as thin as mosquitoes swam around the threads of light. Woo-woo! Waves of ghostly wails and howls came from the void. Strands of the world's origin energy that had condensed into crystal threads appeared like a spider web and landed on the threads of light. The space within hundreds of meters shook. A red and yellow hurricane broke through everything like a dragon. It carried the arrogance of Sun Kong as it roared and pounced at the demon general. The demon general was shocked and didn't dare to be negligent. He quickly shrank his demon body and the halo of the shell quickly flapped to protect his demon body. In just a few seconds, there was a loud bang and the red and yellow tornado had already arrived before the demon general. It hit the 5-colored shell. The moment the 5-colored light was hit, it turned into thumb-sized vortexes. Each vortex had a suction force and each vortex had 5-colored light piercing into the air. Sun Kong Shangren had already used all his strength in this attack. Although the demon general's innate ability was powerful, under the hurricane, the tens of millions of vortexes all collapsed. Every ray of light turned into fireflies. When all the halos were annihilated, There was a crisp sound, and the demon general's shell was actually smashed into pieces. The demon general didn't dare to continue fighting. The demon cloud below him quickly formed, and he was about to escape into the distance. "Where do you think you're going?" Sun Kong was overjoyed and let out a roar. His nascent soul body turned into wind, and heaven howl smashed toward the demon general like thunder. "Sun Kong, be careful." Just at this moment, Gusu Chiodi's shocked voice echoed. Sun Kong was startled, but he didn't dare to be negligent and quickly retreated. It was also at this moment that the dozen or so shells that had been shattered by Sun Kong suddenly flew into the air, heading straight for Sun Kong's chest. When he saw the shell shards streaking through the air, fine spatial cracks appeared, and the sharp shards even touched his protective light. The light was sliced apart like silk. Sun Kong was shocked. Venerable Master Sun Kong hurriedly activated the power of his domain, wanting to seal the space around him. However, the power of his domain turned into nothing when it landed on the five-colored center of the halo. Not good. Exalted Sun Kong hurriedly teleported, but he was still too late. Puff, puff. Several muffled sounds were heard as the three shell fragments broke through Exalted Sun Kong's defenses and stabbed into his body. 3 streams of blood immediately spewed out. "Weak human." The demon general sneered and no longer tried to compete with Sun Kong. The demon general quickly rotated and the five-colored light smashed into Sun Kong's nascent soul body. Damn it. Sun Kong hurriedly circulated his quintessential essence in an attempt to repair the injuries on his body. However, the five-colored halo was extremely strange. His quintessential essence was either absorbed or destroyed by the halo. Sun Kong was unable to repair it at all. Exalted Sun Kong cursed in his heart when he saw the demon general attacking once more, and he hurriedly utilized the wind movement technique to dodge. Since Sun Kong was the first to attack, Zhang Daoren naturally wouldn't be any slower. Just as Sun Kong used Heaven Howl, Sun Kong also used Drifting Snow. At this moment, there were already snowflakes falling from the horizon. Drifting snow rushed into the air, immediately enveloping the space within a radius of a few miles. The traces of ice were like spatial cracks as they rapidly attacked the demon general opposite of them. Wherever the ice crack passed, all the snow particles shook. In an instant, they turned into fist-sized ice balls that smashed towards the demon general from all directions. Wisps of green-white light rotated within the ice balls. Each ice ball would emit a strange whistling sound as it cut through the sky. Zhang Daoren's opponent was a giant rock. The giant rock let out a long cry and spread its wings. A shadow that was hundreds of feet large immediately appeared. The giant rock coldly looked at the ice and snow that filled the sky. Demonic light flashed around its body and more beams of light fell between its wings. A shadow that was hundreds of feet large surged out of the giant rock's body. Boom, boom, boom. The great rock's demonic body rushed into the ice and snow space. As it flapped its wings, the ice balls were smashed into powder. Every time the ice balls exploded, the spinning halos would produce a violent force. However, the explosion of these ice balls only destroyed a trace of the giant rock's shadow. When the giant rock broke through all the ice and shattered the countless ice cracks, the giant rock had already flown above Zhang Daoren's head. The giant rock let out a sinister laugh. Its sharp claws that were dozens of feet long slashed down. Under the claws, the giant rock sealed the space within several hundred feet. Not only did the ice and snow disappear, but even the protective light around Zhang Daoren's body was about to be extinguished. Sigh. Zhang Daoren sighed. The giant rock in front of him had the strength of a 6th-grade origin energy. Moreover, the demonic race's demonic body was tyrannical. Using strength to break through techniques was never a lie. Zhang Daoren's techniques couldn't defeat the giant rock, and he was at an absolute disadvantage in close combat. In just a short exchange, he was already forced to the edge of life and death. Zhang Daoren sighed and slapped the top of his head. A layer of greenish-white emerged from the surface of his body. Ancient talismans appeared on the greenish-white layer, following which the space around Zhang Daoren was immediately covered by a layer of solid ice. Pooh! Just as the layer of ice formed, An ice pillar that was several feet long shot out from the top of Zhang Daren's head. This ice pillar shot straight into the sky. Wherever the ice pillar passed, the space was frozen. The space that the giant rock sealed also cracked and shattered inch by inch. Gotcha! The ice pillar collided with the giant rock's claws. Under the great force, the ice pillar also collapsed. However, the ice pillar only collapsed by a few feet. Zhang Daoren spat out another mouthful of blood. Weng! The ice pillar trembled and crazily rolled upwards. Not only did it freeze the giant rock's claws, it also spread towards the giant rock's abdomen. "Hi, human, you've been tricked." The giant rock didn't panic at all. Instead, he laughed maniacally. Following which, the giant rock opened his mouth. Woo! A beam of greenish-red fire swept out crazily. In an instant, it covered Zhang Daoren's entire body. Furthermore, the giant rock's feathers also surged with threads of fire. In a few breaths' time, the ice pillar that was sealing him was melted. Damn it! Zhang Daoren could feel the scorching threads of fire surging into his body. He cursed furiously. He didn't dare to fight anymore. His figure flashed rapidly. He wanted to teleport out of the sea of fire. However, after he channeled his powers, his body also shook a few times. The space around him was actually sealed tightly by the giant rock. Zhang Daoren couldn't escape. When Zhang Daoren summoned drifting snow, Zhai Xingzi's gaze was like lightning. He swept across another demon who was also looking at him. Their gazes collided in midair. It was as if sparks were flying. Zhai Xingzi didn't turn back. He only instructed plainly, "Qiu, your injuries haven't healed. Why don't you hold the fort for the three of us?" All right. Gusu Qiudi knew that it wasn't a good time for her to fight. She smiled and said, "This time, I'll be a little lazy." Chapter 4368. Okay. As Zhai Xingzi spoke, starlight surged around his body. Countless beams of starlight and moonlight descended from the sky and landed on his body. At this moment, star symbols appeared on the surface of Zhai Xingzi's body. It was like a star map that protected his body. Gusu Qiudi retreated slightly and raised his hand. The shoot the moon bow was already in his hand. He activated his true qi and beams of qi rushed into the shoot the moon bow. A cold moon arrow that was a few feet long was slowly formed. Rumble! Zhai Xingzi flew out, and the demon summoned his demon cloud to meet him. Zhai Xingzi waved his hand, and the star fragment appeared. The space within a few miles immediately darkened. The stars on the star fragment activated the power of the stars and moon, sealing the space. The brilliance of the stars was like a sword, piercing towards the demon. This monster was short and fat. There was a horn that was 3 inches long on top of his head. The wings on his back were also only a few feet long. The monster saw that the space around him was sealed. He activated his monster power but didn't see the beams of starlight and moonlight descend. He had a bad feeling in his heart. Seeing the light of the stars and moon piercing towards him, the monster let out an angry roar. He waved his claws in the air and the space around him was torn apart like silk. The space shattered and the light of the stars and moon was naturally distorted. Most of the light scattered. However, when the light pierced through the shattered space and pierced the monster's body, his body was immediately cut open. Strands of monster blood flowed out. The monster was furious. A grayish-black monster cloud appeared around him. The monster cloud crazily surged and rushed towards the starlight. The brilliance of the stars and the moon was like a sword, piercing through the demonic cloud. At this moment, the demon's horn began to ripple again. As the ripples fell into the air, faint ripples began to spread in all directions in the void. Zhai Xingzi frowned. He had a bad feeling. Fall. Zhai Xingzi formed a seal and pointed at the falling stars in the sky. As he chanted, stars appeared from the falling stars. They shook the space and smashed towards the monster. Although it was only a few thousand feet away, the star grew from a very small size to a very large one. When it landed on top of the demon clan's head, it created a huge commotion, as if it was really falling from the sky. Seeing the several thousand feet large star smashing into the space and distorting it, the monster suddenly roared. Boom, boom, boom. The space within 1,000 feet suddenly churned and collapsed. Waves of black and white light surged out from the cracks in space. However, none of this could stop the star from falling. The brilliance of the star pierced through space and smashed onto the head of the demon. Just as the demon was about to turn into ashes, the figure of the demon suddenly twisted and even folded. Zhai Xingzi was shocked and shouted, "Oh no!" Then, his figure suddenly retreated. Sure enough, just as his figure disappeared, a 3-inch long horn appeared at his illusory figure. In an instant, it shattered the space dozens of feet around him. A spatial divine ability. Zhai Xingzi's mouth was filled with bitterness as he called out to himself, "This monster actually has a spatial divine ability. Damn it, I-Star Shatter is used to confine space and kill the enemy with the power of the stars and moon. Now, how can it be used?" Sun Kongshengren, be careful? At this moment, Gusu Qiudi, who was at the back, hurriedly reminded Sun Kongshengren. When she turned her head to look at Zhai Xingzi, she hurriedly shouted, "Husband, please step aside and watch me kill this monster." "It's all right, your husband can still hold on." How could Zhai Xingzi bear to let Gusu Qiudi take action? After replying, he raised his hand and a huge hand formed by the brilliance of the stars and moon grabbed towards the demon clan. "Hee, with just this strength, you actually dare to come to my 1,000 demons' sacred realm and behave so atrociously?" That demon sneered. He didn't use any other divine ability at all. Instead, he rushed up into the sky, and that horn of his collided with the star-moon hand. Boom! A strange wave, coupled with the sharp horn, caused Zhai Xingzi's hand to crumble instantly. Damn it! Zhai Xingzi, Sun Kongshengren, and Zhang Daoran roared furiously at the same time. They were existences with 5th-grade origin energy on the hidden immortal continent. When had they ever been defeated like this? However, when they came to Bai Qingyu, a mere patrolling demon general was able to force them into a disadvantageous position. How could they possibly rescue Xiao Hua, who was suppressed by the Demon King? "Valspawn, since you're already here, why aren't you bowing down and being captured?" Behind them, a faint voice sounded. Gusu Qiudi was startled. She hurriedly turned her head and saw dozens of clouds surging out from the horizon. The assassins of the Bound of Universe were chasing after them like maggots. "Husband, could it be that we've reached a dead end?" Facing such a desperate situation, Gusu Qiudi was distressed. She raised her head and looked in Bai Qingyu's direction. "We haven't even seen Taoist Zhao's face yet." Haha. In the distance, Bai Qingyu and Demon King Bai Qing laughed. The group of demon race also saw it clearly through the light screen. They all clapped their hands and laughed. "Beat the drums and cheer." Following Bai Qing's shout, "Dong dong dong." Another battle drum beat sounded, shaking the surroundings. "Seniors, don't be anxious. Juniors will come to help you." Amidst the battle drums, a wave of battle cries sounded from another direction. More than 10,000 human cultivators activated their escape lights and swept across the mountains like black clouds, pouncing towards Bai Qingyu. A nascent soul cultivator at the front scanned them with his divine sense and immediately shouted, "Xiongyi?" Sun Kongshengren was stunned at first, then he was overjoyed. He laughed and said, "Taoist Xiao indeed hid something. The disciples of the Black Wind Ridge are all here. Just these 10,000 Black Wind Ridge disciples are already the strongest force of our Dao sect, right? What a pity." Zhang Daoran was not happy. Instead, he sighed and said, "Even if there are more than 10,000 disciples, they're just moths flying into a flame. Not a single disciple will be able to return to the hidden immortal continent." Zhai Xingzi's expression also changed. He could only say, "What a pity." On the other hand, Gusu Qiudi's eyes lit up. She shouted, "How sad! How righteous! Qingyu's banquet has finally begun." The demon general who had just fought with the 3 human cultivators laughed loudly. He raised the weapon in his hand and shouted, "Boy of Shrouding Sky Ridge, Ancient Bell Mountain, Qingbi Qingyu, listen to my command, kill." Just as the word, "kill," fell, a wave of battle cries came from the mountains, ridges, and rivers in front of the Fortune Gate's disciples. 5 colored lights flickered as several thousand demonic beasts of various colors revealed themselves, brandishing their weapons as they charged towards the Fortune Gate's disciples like a tidal wave. Seeing that they were close, Xiong Yi's face revealed a murderous glint. He opened his mouth and a silver-white sword pillar flew out. The sword pillar instantly split into 10, and like spirit stones, they pierced towards the 10 demons in front of him. The 10 demonic beasts were also in the lower 4th grade. Facing the sword light, they sneered and did not dodge. They smashed the demonic beasts in their hands towards Xiong Yi. Pu piu piu. Almost at the same time, the silver-white sword light pierced through the demonic armor on the 10 demonic beasts. It even pierced through their bodies that had been tempered for a long time. The 10 demonic beasts did not even have the chance to scream before they died on the spot. Xiong Yi did not stop. He made a hand seal and the sword light pillar shot towards the other demonic beasts. Damn it! In a few breaths' time, Xiong Yi had killed more than a dozen demonic beasts. A demonic beast general roared and opened his mouth. A pillar of demonic light shot towards Xiong Yi. Seeing the demonic light was like water, majestic, Xiong Yi had no choice but to abandon his demonic beasts and fight the demonic beast general with his sword pillar. At this time, Prince Lan had no time to think about anything else. He also activated his magic treasure to kill the demonic beast general while dodging the demonic beast general's attack. In the air several hundred li away, more than 10,000 Fortune Gate's disciples were also engaged in a fierce battle with several thousand demonic beast clans. Brilliant lights flashed, and demonic chi soared to the sky. Miserable screams, the sounds of magic treasures colliding, and the sound of corpses falling to the ground filled the air. Ha ha! Such a tragic scene was like child's play in the eyes of the 3 beast kings and the group of greater demons. They raised their wine cups and shouted, "What a feast! What a feast! Our trip here was not in vain. Cheers, let's continue to cheer." Kill. Zhai Xingzi sighed when he saw the Fortune Gate disciples fighting the demonic beasts. He did not even look at where the Shenhuang Order assassins came from. He waved his star shatter and continued to fight the demonic beast general. Ha! At this time, another heroic voice sounded from another direction. Several thousand short demonic beasts emerged from the ground. It was Ingpe and his fellow tribesmen. Ingpe shouted, "How can I miss out on such a grand occasion? Even if we can't save Taoist Xiao, we will spill our blood on the way to save him. Good men, good demonic beasts." Gusu Chiodi shouted, "If I can survive today, I will definitely befriend you." That's right. Such men are Taoist Zhao's best friends. Zhai Xingzi laughed. His star shatter flashed as he fought the demonic beast general again. Crazy, crazy, all of them are crazy. The assassins of the Shenhuang Order flew closer. When they saw such a huge battle, they could not help but be stunned. After all, they were humans. Although they wanted to kill Zhai Xingzi and the others, they could not kill humans from behind. Dong dong dong. Another wave of drumming sounded. More demonic beast soldiers flew over from other places to fight against the Continuous Merchant Union's demonic beast soldiers. The demonic beasts were invigorated by the drumming, and their battle cries were endless. After half a cup of tea's time, the blood of the humans and demonic beasts had dyed the ground red. Beast King Bai Qing was still not satisfied. He looked at the situation on the light screen and waved his hand. He stood up and shouted, "Brothers, please wait a moment. This old man will show them some more exciting things." "Okay, we will wait and see." Ni Quan and Peng Jun were puzzled. They replied as they watched Bai Qing disappear into the Heavenly Dam water prison. Boom! In just a moment, demonic light burst out from the mountain peak of the Heavenly Dam water prison. A pillar of fire shot up into the sky. When the pillar of fire pierced through the sky, another struggling human head was suppressed under the pillar of fire. Chapter 4369. Ah, good, good, good. When Ni Quan and Peng Jun saw this, how could they not know that Bai Qing had projected the scene of Xiao Hua being suppressed from the Heavenly Dam water prison to provoke the human cultivators? As they clapped their hands, they carefully released their spiritual sense, especially Peng Jun. His eyes scanned the surrounding space as if he was waiting for someone's arrival. Damn it, damn it, damn it. The fire pillar rushed into the sky and covered the entire Bai Qingyu. Not to mention Xiong Yi and the other Fortune Gate disciples, even Zhai Xingzi and Zhang Daoran felt sad. Everyone roared in unison, and their morale soared. The entire human race's morale soared as they charged towards the demonic beasts without any regard for their lives. However, when more than half of the demons were killed, the human cultivators had only pushed forward for more than 100 miles. Boom, boom, boom. The five-colored brilliance shone brightly again, and many demon clouds rose again. Hundreds of thousands of demon soldiers and demon generals rushed out, covering the sky and covering the earth, and counterattacking the human cultivators. Moreover, behind these demonic beast soldiers and generals, there were hundreds of thousands of demonic beast soldiers holding demonic artifacts, standing guard in the distance. At this time, Zhai Xingzi, Sun Kong, and Zhang Daoran were already injured. Gusu Qiudi's moon shooting bow had already shot twice, and after killing 2 demonic beast generals, she no longer had any power to kill. Seeing that there were more than 10 demonic beast generals with 6th grade essence force sneered and surrounded them, Zhai Xingzi looked at Gusu Qiudi and said, "Qiu, we finally saw Daoist Xiao. Although we can't save him, we have no regrets." However, before Zhai Xingzi could finish his words, another strange phenomenon appeared behind the human cultivators. Zhai Xingzi, Zhang Daoran, and the others were curious and couldn't help but release their spiritual sense. When they saw it clearly, their eyes were filled with shock. They looked at each other and exclaimed, How is this possible? Good heavens! The snowflakes on Jade Mountain are as big as a mat, and they are falling onto the drum stage." A somewhat sour voice reverberated in the gloomy sky. In that voice, snowflakes the size of a thumb fell. The source of the voice was an arrogant python dragon. The python dragon did not move its body to fly. Instead, it coiled in the air and raised its head to look at the sky covered by dark clouds as it roared loudly. This python dragon was obviously transformed from Xiaohua. He had followed Shui Mingzi, Eo Zhantian, and the others to Bai Qingyu. Along the way, he had clearly heard their voice transmissions, and he couldn't help but be deeply moved by the changes in people's hearts. Unfortunately, he had still underestimated his influence on the hidden Immortal Continent's Dao Gate, and he had also underestimated the Stream Merchant Union's ability. He was completely unaware of the efforts the Stream Merchant Union, Fortune Gate, Ao Xing, Ao Zhan, Zhai Xingzi, and the others had put in to rescue the so-called Xiaohua. He was even more unaware that Fairy Jing, who he thought was eager for quick success, had already sacrificed her life for him. At this moment, Xiaohua looked at the sky. The gloomy sky seemed to make him unhappy. He couldn't help but recite a poem. When the nearby Dao Gate's cultivators heard this, they couldn't help but cover their mouths and laugh. Although they were somewhat disdainful of this python dragon's pretentiousness, this flood dragon's divine ability made them revere it. However, after being together for so long, they also felt that this python dragon had no other shortcomings other than its arrogance and bad temper. At this moment, one of the cultivators couldn't help but remind, "Fellow Immortal AOE, why don't you take a look? This snowflake is not the size of a straw mat. Could it be that the straw mats in your hometown are like this?" Ha! Xiaohua laughed heartily. As he laughed, all the snow within a radius of 300 meters was shaken into powder. Immediately after, Xiaohua opened his mouth and spat out a stream of demonic qi. In the sky, a thin piece of ice that was several meters in size appeared and slowly drifted down with the wind. "This old man knows that you are jealous of this old man's talent and the nobility of my dragon race." Xiaohua raised his hand and pointed. "Do you see? This is a snowflake as big as a straw mat." Then what about the drum-beating platform? That cultivator saw that Xiaohua wasn't angry and asked again. Clang clang. Xiaohua coughed twice. The python dragon's voice was like thunder. Xiaohua laughed again and said, "Look, this is..." Without waiting for Xiaohua to finish speaking, dong, dong, dong. In the sky, the sound of drums faintly rang out. Layers of clouds were formed in the dense dark clouds that were previously covered by the drums. They rapidly rippled from afar and covered the entire sky in a short moment. The snowflakes floating in the air were also shattered by the drum beats. When the clouds moved, the drum beats stopped and large snowflakes really began to drift down. This is already the Baiqingyu territory? Ao Zhantian's expression turned serious and he turned to ask Shui Mingzi. Shui Mingzi smiled and nodded. That's right. This place has already entered the Baiqingyu demon realm. Good. Ao Zhantian took a deep breath as he swept his gaze across all the Dao sect cultivators nearby. In the end, his gaze landed on Shui Mingzi's face, and he said word by word, Shui Mingzi, I'm sure you've already told the other fellow Taoists what you told me earlier, right? A trace of embarrassment flashed across Shui Mingzi's eyes. However, he immediately nodded and said, That's right. That's good. Ao Zhantian raised his hand and lifted his Taoist robe. With a wave of his hand, the corner of the robe fluttered in the wind. Ever since the Jade Pavilion meeting, I have always treated fellow Shui as my best friend. This time, when I received news of Taoist Zhao's death, I immediately contacted fellow Shui. From the hidden Immortal continent to the Thousand Demons sacred realm, from the North Sea to Baiqingyu, I thank fellow Shui for leading the way. I also thank fellow Shui for accompanying me in killing demonic beasts. At the same time, I also thank fellow Shui for not stabbing me in the back. Fellow Taoist Ao, what do you mean by this? Shui Mingzi sneered. His gaze followed the fluttering corner of the robe and became even more confused. He muttered, Are you cutting off your relationship with me? It's nothing. People who walk different paths cannot make plans together. Ao Zhantian said proudly, This time, I came to Baiqingyu to save Taoist Zhao. I have no interest in Taoist Zhao's disciple and your blood oath. Since we are already here, there is no longer any intention to cooperate between us. Since everyone is suspicious of each other, we might as well separate. I don't care why you want to save Taoist Zhao. As long as you can save him, I will definitely not stop you. However, if you want to do anything to Taoist Zhao, then don't blame me for being impolite. After saying that, Ao Zhantian flew several hundred meters into the sky. He turned his head and shouted, Is there anyone else who is not willing to wallow in the mire with Shui Mingzi and is willing to die for Taoist Zhao with me? Ao Zhantian's sudden commotion caused the Taoist cultivators to look at each other. Just as Ao Zhantian had said, Shui Mingzi had been observing everyone's expressions along the way and had transmitted his voice to every cultivator at the right time. Most of the Taoist cultivators were hot-blooded men. When they heard that Taoist Zhao was in trouble, they all rubbed their palms together and came to his rescue. However, after entering the Thousand Demons sacred realm, under the countless difficulties and trials of life and death, their hot-bloodedness and impulsiveness had long been obliterated. All that was left was the interrogation of their conscience. This kind of interrogation was something that no cultivation method had ever done. Not to mention the cultivators, even Ao Zhantian had countless thoughts along the way. He was like a fence-sitter. One moment he was here, the next moment he was there. One moment he felt that he should be Xiaohua. The next moment he felt that Shui Mingzi was right. It was only now that he truly recognized his own heart and saw his own path. Ao Zhantian had seen it clearly. What about the other Taoist cultivators? After half a cup of tea's time, not a single cultivator stepped out from the crowd. Xiaohua's heart grew colder. I'm willing. Just as Ao Zhantian sighed and was about to leave, Su Tingzi gritted his teeth and flew out from the crowd. Su Tingzi was an extremely thoughtful person. When he helped Xiaohua on the Yaotai Mountain, he had thought about it several times before taking action. After leaving the Yaotai Mountain, Xiaohua wanted him to join the Fortune Gate like Xiong Yi. However, he hesitated and refused in the end. It was the same this time. He thought about it for a long time, and when he saw that Ao Zhantian was about to leave, he couldn't help but step out from the crowd. Good. Ao Zhantian was overjoyed. He clapped his hands and laughed. Although there are many Taoist cultivators in the world, there might not be many who are worthy of Taoist Zhao's attention. There's no need for too many who are waiting for Taoist Zhao. Just one of them is enough. After saying that, Ao Zhantian seemed to have thought of something, and he turned to Xiaohua, who was watching the show from afar, and cupped his fists. Fellow Taoist Ao, although what I said was true, There's a possibility that dragons will come to Bai Qingyu. However, there's something I didn't say. Bai Qingyu is a place of death. There's almost no chance for dragons to come. Moreover, there's no turning back if you go forward. Roar! Xiaohua was instantly enraged when he heard this. His entire python body stretched out in midair as he roared at Ao Zhantian. Motherfucker, you actually dared to lie to me? Did you use me to protect you? Ao Zhantian smiled bitterly. Although I didn't lie to you, my true meaning is more or less the same. Fellow Taoist, if you go forward, you won't be able to turn back. I'm already prepared to die. Therefore, fellow Taoist, please turn back. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Xiaohua cursed angrily as he looked at the fearless Ao Zhantian. His python body stopped in the air as if he wanted to kill Ao Zhantian. However, he seemed to feel that it wasn't worth it and didn't know what to do. At this moment, Shui Mingzi raised his hand and waved. The remaining cultivators moved and surrounded Su Tingzi. Shui Mingzi then flew in front of Ao Zhantian. Hee. Ao Zhantian wasn't surprised by Shui Mingzi's actions. He sneered. Shui Mingzi, you finally couldn't hold back? Actually, I've been guessing on the way here when you would attack me. However, this is all you've got. It didn't exceed my expectations. Chapter 4370. At this point, Ao Zhantian suddenly came to a realization. He looked to the left and slapped his forehead. Could it be that this is Bai Qingyu? You don't need to be wary anymore? Are you going to attack me again? Could it be that you also attacked Taoist Master Xiao back then? Shui Mingzi's expression changed slightly. How could I attack Taoist Master Xiao? When he was training in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, he offended Monster Monarch Bai Qingyu and was captured by her. Haha. Ao Zhantian laughed loudly. He pointed at the group of nascent soul cultivators and said, "Look at this sanctimonious thing." If he didn't say this, I could only guess. However, based on his words, I can conclude that Taoist Master Xiao was harmed by him. Shui Mingzi was shocked. He seemed to have thought of something. However, he immediately sneered. Xiaohua's matter has nothing to do with me. I also want to save him. However, I don't want to save him for nothing. I just want him to return the blood oath we made. Shui Mingzi, oh Shui Mingzi, don't forget. Ao Zhantian decided to get straight to the point. You invited me to the Thousand Beast Sacred Realm's ancient Bell Mountain to participate in some kind of event. I didn't agree. After that, I went to visit Taoist Master Xiao and invited him to participate in the Dragon Island training with me. At that time, I asked Taoist Master Xiao if you invited him. Taoist Master Xiao said that you invited him and he agreed. If that's the case, didn't Taoist Master Xiao come to the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm to participate in the ancient Bell Mountains event? If it weren't for your selfishness, how could he have been betrayed? Ao Zhantian, you're talking nonsense. Shui Mingzi said angrily. Xiaohua didn't come at all. I only thought of using the ancient Bell Mountain's power after hearing that he was suppressed by Monster Monarch Bai Qingyu. Ao Zhantian smiled mysteriously. His gaze moved from Shui Mingzi to the nascent soul cultivators surrounding Su Tingzi. He said meaningfully, if you didn't set Taoist Master Xiao up, what are you doing right now? Do you need to kill me just to take control of Taoist Zhao's forces? Ao Zhantian's words were extremely heart-wrenching, and Shui Mingzi was instantly forced out of his heart. Setting aside everyone else, even Xiaohua couldn't help but blame Shui Mingzi for the little white dragon's imprisonment. He knew very well that he hadn't come to the Thousand Beast Sacred Realm to participate in any grand event, but even he couldn't help but blame Shui Mingzi for the little white dragon's imprisonment. At this moment, Ao Zhantian added fuel to the fire by asking, "Oh, and where is Taoist Xinping's nascent soul? Does he know about your background and have something on you that he can use against you? That day in front of Yizhao Ridge, he directly called you Shui Mingzi. Now that his nascent soul is nowhere to be seen, did you kill it?" Venomous slander. Shui Mingzi couldn't help but fly into a rage. What does this have to do with me? Before he could even finish his sentence, a beam of light shot out from Ao Zhantian's Taoist robes and slashed towards Shui Mingzi's waist. Wasn't that Ao Zhantian's scythe magic treasure? Damn it. Shui Mingzi was caught off guard. his body flashed and he teleported into the distance. A shadow was sliced into two by the scythe. Ao Zhantian took advantage of Shui Mingzi's evasion and roared, "Let's see who dares to block my path." Then he waved his Taoist robes and charged toward Bai Qingyu. Su Tingzi, who was feeling a little regretful, didn't have any way of turning back. He urged his body to escape with Ao Zhantian. At this moment, like the sound of war drums being beaten 3 times, the sound of muffled thunder came from the sky. This time, the sound of the drum was different from the previous one. It reverberated at a low altitude, and wherever the sound of the drum passed, some demonic formations were activated. An indescribable power of the stars and moon also rushed out from the void and landed in all directions. A clear sound rang out from the ground not far from Ao Zhantian. Several shadows as large as the north of the sea rushed out. These shadows were immensely powerful, and they enveloped an area of 10,000 feet in front of Ao Zhantian. Ao Zhantian didn't dare to be careless. He hurriedly stopped and dodged. Just as he was dodging, Shui Mingzi raised his hand and slapped it. A 5-colored beast skin fell from his hand. Dozens of tiny pillars of light descended from the sky and landed on the demonic runes on the beast skin. Thin 5-colored patterns slowly appeared on Shui Mingzi's body. Shui Mingzi activated his body and teleported in front of Ao Zhantian. Bai Qingyu's demonic formations instantly disappeared when they came into contact with the 5-colored patterns on Shui Mingzi's body. Since fellow Taoist Ao doesn't want to accept a toast, then I have no choice. Shui Mingzi seemed to have a card up his sleeve. He raised his hand and took out his horsetail whisk. Under the activation of his magic power, the horsetail whisk actually shone with 5-colored light. As he waved it, the demonic formations that had been activated earlier seemed to be lifted by the horsetail whisk. Dozens of demonic lights surged out from the ground and enveloped an area of 10 kilometers around Ao Zhantian like a fountain. Normally, it's a dog who bullies its master. But now, it's a dog who bullies its master. What can I do? Ao Zhantian snorted coldly. He raised his hand and slapped the top of his head. The blood-colored dragon avatar gradually emerged from his body. Just as the dragon avatar raised its head and was about to roar, a dragon roar several times louder than his rang out from another direction. Ao Zhantian was stunned. The dragon avatar extended to several thousand feet in length and looked toward the source of the dragon roar. In the sky, between the layers of colorful clouds, a dozen or so enormous dragon bodies flew over with auspicious auras. The dragon aura that could drown a person surged toward them like a tidal wave. Ao Xing? Ao Zhantian couldn't help but tremble when he saw the dragon body that was at least 10,000 feet in length and the golden crown on the dragon's forehead. He's really here? Ao Xing wasn't the only one. Ao Zhan's black dragon body also appeared behind Ao Xing. The other dragons that were protecting Ao Zhan also caught up from behind. Damn it. Shui Mingzi didn't know who Ao Xing was, but when he heard Ao Zhantian's exclamation and recalled that Ao Zhantian had mentioned Ao Xing to the python dragon, how could he not know that he was in trouble? He cursed angrily and hurriedly took out another beast hide from his robes. Then he spat a mouthful of blood essence onto it. The beast hide ignited on its own and instantly transformed into the projection of a winged beast. It turned into a white line and flew into the depths of Bai Qingyu. Ao Zhantian's dragon avatar also raised its head and roared, trying to attract Ao Xing's attention. Xiao Hua, who was beside him, laughed loudly in his heart. Dragon tribe, it really is the dragon tribe. Cough cough. I've finally seen a true dragon tribe member today. Unfortunately, regardless of whether it was Ao Zhantian, Su Tingzi, Shui Mingzi, or the group of human cultivators, no one had the time to pay attention to this python dragon who was waiting for the arrival of the dragon tribe. Ao Xing clearly heard Ao Zhantian's call. He swept his vital sense over and his dragon body flew in their direction. However, Ao Xing's dragon roar contained a trace of warning. When Ao Zhantian sensed that something was amiss and took a closer look at Ao Xing and the other dragon tribe members, he couldn't help but turn pale with fright. This was because even though Ao Sheng's body was flashing with golden light, the dragon armor under the golden light was already slightly damaged. The dragon scales that covered the dragon armor were either shattered or bleeding profusely. There were even claw marks that were several dozen feet in size on some parts of his body. Holy fuck, it can't be! Xiao Hua exclaimed in shock. A dragon tribe member can also be injured in the Thousand Beasts Sacred Realm? Immortal friend Ao, this is the dragon tribe you were talking about? Why does it look like they're inferior to me? Could it be that my bloodline is better than the dragon tribes? Woo! Before Ao Zhantian could reply, the sound of a bugle horn rang out from the depths of Jianghu. Numerous demonic clouds emerged from the foothills and surged toward them. Above the demonic clouds, numerous star-stage demon generals stood proudly. Behind them, several hundred demon soldiers wielded their weapons and charged over. Ao Zhantian? Why are you here? Ao Xing yelled before he even got close. Ao Zhantian didn't say much. He only raised his voice and said, I came to Jianghu to rescue Xiao Hua, Taoist priest Xiao Hua. These dozen or so Taoist sect cultivators all have distracting thoughts, and this out-of-body Taoist priest Xiao is the main culprit behind Taoist priest Zhao's misfortune. Ao Zhantian's words were truly timely. Ao Xing didn't hesitate at all. He let out a loud roar and spat out a mouthful of dragon's breath. A majestic aura that numbed the bones of the Taoist sect cultivators fell from the sky. Ao Zhantian's dragon blood dharma body was the only one who managed to block the dragon's aura. The dozen or so human cultivators, including Su Tingzi, tried their best to resist the dragon's aura with their magic power, but they were still unable to stabilize themselves in midair. The light around their bodies scattered, and they fell from the sky. They couldn't even gather their true essence. On the other hand, Shui Mingzi's body flashed with five-colored light. He transformed into a shadow and flew toward Jianghu's demon generals. Kill. Ao Xing didn't care about these Taoist sect cultivators at all. He let out a furious roar, and the golden light around his body shone brightly. In an instant, he covered a distance of dozens of miles. He opened his dragon claws and swiped at Shui Mingzi. Moreover, the heavenly dragon speech technique was unleashed from the dragon's mouth. Above the heads of the Taoist sect cultivators, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth within 100 miles surged violently. Clusters of flames appeared and rained down on the Taoist sect cultivators. Wherever the flames touched, the space was scorched and distorted. The Taoist cloud that soared into the sky was also burned to ashes. A dozen or so weaker Taoist soldiers were engulfed by the flames and fell from the sky while howling. Boom, boom. Seeing how powerful the flames were, the Taoist generals on the Taoist cloud didn't dare to be careless. They hurriedly circulated their Taoist qi, and streaks of five-colored light soared into the sky. The five-colored light was indeed powerful. The flames unleashed by the heavenly dragon speech technique were destroyed by the five-colored light. However, Ao Xing, Ao Zhan, and the rest of the dragon tribe cultivators were already close to the Taoist sect cultivators. Ao Xing's dragon claws were already descending. While Shui Mingzi was shocked, he had already taken out his horsetail whisk. Tens of thousands of light strands flew up to meet the attack. Unfortunately, the light strands were easily grabbed by Ao Xing's dragon claws. As the light strands turned into sand and fell to the ground, Shui Mingzi's horsetail whisk also let out a sizzling sound. The strands of light strands that were refined from an unknown material were already flying away. Chapter 4371. Let's go! Shui Mingzi didn't dare to delay. He hurriedly channeled his magic power and tried to teleport away. However, in front of a dragon, a human's teleportation was powerless. Shui Mingzi only flew a few feet before the space around him solidified. Shui Mingzi could no longer fly forward. He had no choice but to reveal himself in the space. Then he saw Ao Xing's deformed dragon head. The murderous dragon claw was already in front of him. Damn you, Ao Zhantian! Shui Mingzi knew that Ao Xing wanted to kill him because of Ao Zhantian's words. Although he was in the out-of-aperture realm, he was still helpless in front of a dragon's powerful body. Shui Mingzi quickly flipped his hand and took out a 5-colored shell the size of a thumb. With a squeeze of his fingers, the shell was crushed. Pung! A glaring 5-colored light appeared. Once it appeared, it immediately turned into a shell that was hundreds of feet wide and blocked Ao Sheng's dragon claw. Clang! A metallic sound rang out. Ao Sheng's dragon claw was blocked and the shell was shattered into pieces. However, Shui Mingzi took advantage of this gap to teleport 1,000 feet away. Damn it! Ao Sheng's murderous intent rose. 1,000 feet was nothing in his eyes. He swung his dragon body again and his dragon tail that was hundreds of feet long smashed towards Shui Mingzi. Ao Zhan and the other dragon generals didn't stand idly by as Ao Sheng chased after Shui Mingzi. They ignored the human cultivators and released their dragon's might and dragon's breath towards Bai Qingyu's demon generals and soldiers. In just a few moments, half of the demon soldiers summoned by Shui Mingzi were killed by Ao Zhan and the others. 4 of the demon generals were killed as well. The entire area was covered in blood and flesh. The group of numb human cultivators were a little dumbfounded. The fighting methods of the monster race were different from that of the human race. Most of the time, it was a fight of flesh against flesh, a collision of blood against blood. How could there be so many dazzling spells? Seeing Ao Sheng's huge dragon tail coming down, Shui Mingzi felt that the whole world was filled with dragon scales and dragon breath. No matter what spell he cast, it was as powerless as raindrops when it landed on the tough dragon body. He couldn't help but feel sad. He even thought of the funny boa dragon along the way, the one who claimed to have the blood of the dragon race. Just as Shui Mingzi's heart was about to give up, a familiar voice sounded in his ears. Where did this shameless dragon come from? How dare you bully the weak? Ancestor, save the boy. Despite Shui Mingzi's thousands of years of age, when he heard this voice, he actually shamelessly called himself a boy and asked for help. Above Shui Mingzi's head, the space distorted, and the phantom of a flying feather void beast appeared in a space 1,000 feet wide. Before the phantom of the flying feather void beast could fully materialize, the flying feather void beast also swung its tail, and the distortion of space actually rushed out with its tail. Boom! It was as if the space within a few miles had collapsed. Ao Sheng's dragon body tumbled a few times in the air before coming to a stop. Ao Sheng's eyes flashed with horror and he shouted, "Where did this thing come from? How dare you block me?" The collapse of space also destroyed most of the phantom. It wasn't until Ao Sheng came to a stop that the phantom became solid again. A sun-devouring realm great demon appeared from the phantom with a slightly angry face and coldly looked at Ao Sheng. The great demon glanced at Ao Sheng and the wings on his back flapped. Dozens of pillars of starlight and moonlight fell, creating layers of distorted space fluctuations that blocked Ao Zhan and the other dragon generals. Then, he glanced at Shui Mingzi, Ao Zhanten, and the other humans before his gaze finally landed on Ao Sheng. He asked coldly, "Who are you? How dare you block me?" "Of course I am." Ao Sheng was furious. Just as he was about to reveal his identity, he seemed to have thought of something and shouted, "I am the Dragon General of Dragon Island. Are you Bai Qingyu's great demon? Hurry up and release Xiao Hua, or I will order the other dragon generals to trample Bai Qingyu." Ha! The great demon laughed and pointed his claws at Ao Sheng. "You dare to say you are the Dragon General of Dragon Island? Don't you know that the Dragon Island's envoy has already been here? He doesn't care about my affairs at all. What right do you have to criticize me?" "What? The Dragon Island's envoy has already been here? How is this possible?" Ao Sheng was shocked. "Seems like you are also pretending to be a dragon of Dragon Island. Let me capture you first." The great demon sneered and spread his wings. His body became extremely distorted again and he pounced at Ao Sheng. Who dares to hurt a minor elder of Dragon Island? The dragon generals who were protecting Ao Sheng were anxious. They roared and abandoned the group of demon generals and pounced at the great demon. Ao Zhan at the side shouted, "Ao Sheng, let's not waste time with him. Let's rush in first." "Okay." Ao Sheng nodded and rushed toward Bai Qingyu while the dragon generals were blocking the great demon. Ao Sheng knew that he was no match for this great demon. These dragon generals could only hold on for a few breaths. As long as he rushed into Bai Qingyu and saw Monster Monarch Bai Qingyu, he might be able to persuade her to let Xiao Hua go with his identity as a minor elder of Dragon Island. Boom boom boom. Just when Ao Xing was a few thousand feet away, he heard a series of explosions. The great demon had already sent a few dragon generals flying. These dragon generals' flesh was torn open and it was obvious that their injuries were not light. However, when the great demon saw Ao Xing and Ao Zhan flying away, he did not chase after them. Instead, he looked coldly at Ao Zhantian and Su Tingzi with killing intent. Facing the great demon's gaze, Ao Zhantian was shocked. His dragon blood Dharma body was trembling. It was as if he would be killed by the great demon if he did not make a move. Roar roar. Right at this moment, a few more dragon roars that were even louder erupted in the sky in front of Ao Zhantian. Dong dong dong. A third set of drum beats sounded, and a few dozen sun-devouring stage dragons flew out from the drum beats and dragon roars, surrounding Ao Xing, Ao Zhan, and the other dragons in the center. Where are you from? Ao Xing's heart skipped a beat when he saw dozens of unfamiliar dragons surrounding him. Hee, you are just a minor elder of Dragon Island. How could you know us dragons? A colorful dragon at the front said with a sinister smile. Since you know that I am a minor elder of Dragon Island, how dare you be so rude? Ao Xing shouted, aren't you afraid of Dragon Island's dragon law? Dragon law? What is dragon law? The dragon laughed. We are not under Dragon Island. How would we know about dragon law? Besides, you are just a minor elder of Dragon Island. In the Thousand Demons sacred realm, you are just a little dragon who can pluck the moon. We can kill you if we want. At this moment, the great demon from ancient Bell Mountain behind Ao Xing snorted coldly. Brother Jiang, don't you think you have said too much? Damn it. The colorful dragon roared. Who told you to tell me why I am here? I have already promised to kill Ao Xing. I will not go back on my word. Even now, you still want to sow discord? Ao Zhan stopped behind Ao Xing and said indifferently, which one of us are you going to let go of? You better say it now. I will tell him that you are dragons of heavenly abode river. The great demon was stunned when he heard Ao Zhan expose his painstakingly planned plan to sow discord. However, he quickly sneered, since all of you are already here, don't even think about turning back. You were the one who captured Daoist Xiao? Ao Zhantian suddenly asked loudly. The great demon coldly glanced at him and said, you have no right to know. What if it was me? Ao Xing stared at the great demon and asked, do I have the right? Even Ao Zhan asked, since we have no chance of survival, why don't you tell us the truth so that we can die in peace? Although this has nothing to do with me, why should I tell you? The spirit creature laughed out loud, looked at the dozens of dragons and yelled, the banquet is about to begin, and our king has been urging us to serve the dishes. Let's hurry up and kill these human beings and dragons, make them into delicacies and send them to our king, shall we? If we are too late, the other demon generals will kill the disciples of Soaring Dragon Mountain Range first and serve them to our king. Won't we lose the merit? All right. The rainbow dragon opened his mouth and shouted, just thinking about the small elders of Dragon Island dying in front of me makes me excited. Just as the demonic beasts were about to make their move, boom. However, there was another loud explosion in the sky above the demonic beasts. A towering pillar of fire shot out from the ground in the distance, piercing high into the dark clouds. An imposing aura that made all the demonic beasts prostrate themselves before spread out in all directions in a domineering manner. This is... The great demon was slightly stunned. However, when the pillar of fire pierced into the sky, the dark clouds did not dissipate. Even the snowflakes that were as big as a mat were not melted by the pillar of fire. Instead, they were still floating freely in the pillar of fire. The great demon couldn't help but laugh. I understand now. This is the image of the heavenly dam water prison that suppressed Xiao Hua. Human cultivators, take a look. Is Xiao Hua the one you want to save under the pillar of fire? There was no need for the great demon to say anything else. Although the image formed by the pillar of fire appeared to be far away, It was extremely close. Not only were the flame patterns on the pillar of fire clearly visible, even the small white dragon suppressed at the bottom of the pillar of fire could be seen clearly. Ao Sheng let out a furious roar. The golden light around his dragon body flashed rapidly, and he pounced toward the pillar of light. He shouted, "Damned by Qingyu, how dare you humiliate the Dragon Master of Dragon Island? I'm going to kill you all? Ha! The face of your dragon tribe is meant to be trampled on." The colorful dragon laughed loudly. His dragon tail, which was even thicker than Ao Sheng's body, swept through the air and smashed toward Ao Sheng. Kill. The great demon also issued a cold command. Bai Qingyu's demon soldiers and generals did not dare to hesitate. They all controlled their demon clouds and prepared to pounce toward Ao Zhantian and the other human cultivators. Chapter 4372. Ha ha ha. Right at this moment, a burst of soft laughter sounded from behind the humans and dragons. This laughter was filled with profound meaning, mockery, and sorrow. As soon as this laughter rang out, the space within a radius of 500 kilometers began to freeze, and even the falling snowflakes seemed to have sensed the chilling intent behind the laughter as they froze in midair. Who's there? The great beast and rainbow dragon were greatly alarmed as they quickly swept their vital senses through the air. Wherever their vital senses passed, they were blocked by a mountainous being. When their eyes landed on the python dragon that Xiaohua had transformed into, they were greeted by the sight of him slowly flying toward them. Ao! Fellow Immortal Ao? Ao Zhantian, Shui Mingzi, and even Su Tingzi were all dumbfounded. They didn't expect that the boa dragon that liked to curry favor with people of culture still hadn't left. Moreover, it had appeared at such a critical moment. Moreover, the boa dragon's strength was actually so terrifying. The great beast's cultivation base was far superior to Ao Zhantian's, and he hurriedly asked upon sensing that something was amiss. Unfortunately, without waiting for him to finish speaking, Wang Wing. Within 1,000 feet of the python dragon, a whirlwind that soared into the sky was born. Within this whirlwind, the python dragon's body slowly shrank, and Xiaohua's tall and thin figure was revealed little by little. Xiaohua? Ao Zhan was truly astonished. He looked at Xiaohua's frosty face with incredulity, then at the little white dragon's face that had been suppressed by the pillar of flames. There was no difference between these two faces. When Ao Zhan's gaze returned to him, he was greeted by an incredulous scene. Boom! Xiaohua, who had reverted to his human form, suddenly emanated a Taoist might. This might climbed steadily, but it didn't spread into the distance. Moments later, the space within a radius of close to 10 kilometers began to cave in, and layers of twisted light projections began to appear around Xiaohua's body, making it appear as if Xiaohua's body wasn't very real. Within this light projection, the ferocious ferocity of tens of thousands of people surged into the hearts of the humans and demons like a tidal wave. Not to mention the humankind and the humankind, even the lofty dragons couldn't help but tremble. Their bodies, which had been extremely arrogant before, were forced to shrink slowly. Am I Yana cultivator? Ao Zhantian's expression changed drastically. For you, senior? You are not Taoist Master Xiao. At the same time, Ao Zhantian suddenly came to his senses. Without any hesitation, he knelt on the ground and said anxiously, Junior Ao Zhantian begs senior to save Xiaohua. He is one of the few people in this world with a heart of steel and a heart of chivalry. Just as Ao Zhantian's body knelt down, an incomparably gentle force emerged. Even though he was a 5th-grade elemental energy cultivator, he didn't have any ability to resist and could only stand up with the force of this force. Xiaohua didn't look at Ao Zhantian. Instead, he stared coldly at the great demon and the rainbow dragon. Didn't you want to kill Xiaohua? Now that I'm here, I'd like to see how you're going to kill him. While speaking, Xiaohua waved his 2 hands, and 2 large hands appeared out of thin air, grabbing at the great demon and the colorful dragon at the same time. Under the giant hands, the space within a radius of 100 kilometers was sealed. Both the great demon and the colorful dragon were startled. The 2 great demon immediately activated their divine abilities in an attempt to escape. The great demon's wings flapped rapidly, causing ripples to appear in the nearby space. Black and white light scuttled out from the ripples. Unfortunately, before his figure could even move, Xiao Hua's giant hand had already descended. The great demon hurriedly opened his mouth again, and several crimson-red demonic lights rushed out in an attempt to block the giant hand. The demonic lights immediately collapsed upon colliding with the giant hands. Even the great demon's tail struck the giant hands. However, the countless divine abilities were nothing more than a bluff in the face of the giant hands. The giant hands closed, and the 7th-grade great demon, Swallowing Sun, was caught in Xiao Hua's hands. Looking at Xiao Hua's other hand, the colorful dragon's horns shot out beams of light, its dragon chi spat out from its mouth, and its claws that could tear through space were all unable to stop the giant hands for even a second. The great demon, who was several times stronger than the great demon race, was caught by Xiao Hua's giant hands just like grabbing a small snake. If you dare to touch me, my clan's divine ancestor will definitely not forgive you. The great demon screamed hysterically, and his voice was filled with fear. Hee hee. Xiao Hua sneered. A green light flashed between his eyebrows, and dozens of soul strands instantly pierced into the great demon's forehead. The great demon's screams immediately disappeared, and his entire body twitched violently, appearing to be in great pain. Damn it! The colorful dragon was shocked. How could he not know that Xiao Hua was soul-searching? He cursed angrily, and the colorful light around his body flourished. However, the colorful light merely flickered for a moment before extinguishing. At the same time, his dragon body was also twitching in the giant hands. Seeing this, Ao Zhan was shocked. Because Xiao Hua was soul-searching 2 great demons at the same time. This was something that Ao Zhan didn't dare to imagine. Within 1,000 kilometers, it was filled with a strange aura. The snowflakes didn't fly, and the wind didn't howl. Only Xiao Hua, who was about 3 meters tall, stood there proudly, as if he was the center of the world. In just a short moment, Xiao Hua's brows furrowed slightly. Then, the 2 giant hands moved at the same time. Papa! 2 loud sounds rang out at the same time. 2 streaks of blood-red light soared into the sky. The great demon's body and the colorful dragon's body were crushed by Xiao Hua's giant hands. When the giant hands threw down the 2 disfigured corpses, the crowd couldn't help but tremble. They had seen ferocious cultivators, but they had never seen a ferocious person who could crush a dragon's body with his bare hands. At this time, Xiao Hua was really anxious and furious. With a wave of his hand, the Kunlun mirror appeared out of thin air. As the light beam swayed, the black bear, white lion, and golden eagle rushed out. Then, under the crowd's astonishment, the Fortune Gate's army of 200,000 and 2 lightning boats were released from the Shenhua continent. No one dared to make a sound. After the army of 200,000 was ready, Xiao Hua raised his hand and pointed at the fire pillar in the sky. He looked at the black bear and the other 2 great demons and said, "Do you see this? This Xiao has only been away for 200 years, and my dignity has been trampled on like this." Although Bai Qingyu doesn't have the ability to suppress, she has the intention to suppress. What do you think we should do? Under the fire pillar, Xiao Hua, whom they worshipped like a god, was struggling in pain. Even though they knew that this Xiao Hua was not the Xiao Hua in front of them, they were still shocked. Whether it was the black bear, the other 2 great demons, or the hundreds of thousands of Fortune Gate's disciples, their eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. The black bear crouched in the air and shouted, "Master, please rest assured. This black bear requests an order from Master. Give black bear 200,000 disciples. This black bear will definitely bathe Bai Qingyu in blood and wash away our shame with the blood of a beast king. Go." Xiao Hua waved his hand and ordered, "Bathe Bai Qingyu in blood." Yes, bathe Bai Qingyu in blood. Bathe Bai Qingyu in blood. The black bear was overjoyed and shouted loudly. The 200,000 disciples drove the lightning boats, and amidst the rumbling of thunder, they rushed towards Bai Qingyu. "Many thanks, Senior." Even now, Ao Sheng and Ao Zhan still did not dare to recognize Xiao Hua as their dragon master. They hurriedly bowed to express their gratitude. Xiao Hua smiled faintly and was about to say something when he frowned. His divine sense swept towards the distance, and when he found that his divine sense was blocked, he waved his hand and tens of thousands of disciples flew out from the Kunlun mirror. Xiaohua had no time to explain. He pointed at Ao Zhantian and said, "This is an old acquaintance of mine, Ao Zhantian. Listen to his orders." The disciple leading the troops did not dare to delay and respectfully answered. Xiaohua then released Yuanya, Taoist Jingting, and Xian Songzi. He pointed at Ao Sheng and said, "Yeah, this is Ao Sheng. You've seen him before. Help him subdue these dragons. If they dare to resist, kill them all." "Yes, master." Yuanya held the devil spear in his hand, exuding an imposing aura. He acknowledged Xiaohua's order and his gaze fell on the dragons. Before he could do anything, the bone dragon's terrifying aura on the devil spear had already scared the dragons out of their wits. Xiaohua then pointed in another direction and said, "Xian Songzi, Taoist Jingting, Zhai Xingzi, and the others are there. The two of you are responsible for protecting them." Xian Songzi and Jinren Jingting were the first to cultivate scattered nascent souls, but they were different from Xiaohua's 100 or so scattered nascent souls. They had their own consciousness, and Xiaohua didn't dare to use his own method to refine them. Therefore, they didn't spend all their time cultivating in Xiaohua's Dantian, and their progress wasn't as fast as other scattered nascent souls. Even so, as the saying goes, the pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. The two scattered nascent souls had already crossed 7 tribulations and reached the mid-level of the 7th grade. At this time, the two of them did not dare to delay after hearing Xiaohua's order. They bowed and rushed in the direction Xiaohua had pointed. Xiaohua's figure was like a rainbow as he soared into the sky. His voice sounded behind him, "After you're done here, go to the fire pillar. We'll all come to Bai Qingyu for the banquet." "Yes, master." Yuanya answered. A group of Fortune Gate disciples had already surrounded the space. This is really Dragon Master Xiaohua." Seeing Yuanya's appearance, Ao Xing came to a realization. After all, he had seen Yuanya on the Dragon Island. However, looking at Yuanya's strength of the 7th level of origin power, he really did not dare to believe it. It had only been 200 years, how did they become so strong? All of a sudden, Ao Sheng screamed again. Looking at the little white dragon in pain under the fire pillar, he screamed to Ao Zhan, "Damn it, I know it now. This is the little white dragon." Others might not know about it, but Ao Sheng and Ao Zhan were well aware of it. Back on Dragon Island, Xiaohua, the little white dragon who had just formed his body, and Reverend Yun had fought Long Si and the dimensional monsters with them. Suppressing the little white dragon is no different from suppressing Xiaohua. Ao Zhan also came to a realization and said coldly, "This Bai Qingyu really deserves to die." It's not just Bai Qingyu who deserves to die, the ancient Bell Mountain also deserves to die. Ao Zhantian's face turned cold as he looked at Shui Mingzi, who was so regretful that he wanted to dig out his intestines to clean them. Chapter 4373. Although Xiongyi had led over 10,000 Fortune Gate disciples over, and the Endless Merchant Union had sent over a few thousand demonic beasts to help, they were still too weak. However, in the face of tens of thousands of demon generals and demon soldiers, Zhai Xingzi and the others were still in dire straits. Facing such a hopeless situation, Zhai Xingzi and the others didn't have any regrets. Death was inevitable in a person's life. Even among cultivators, how many could live forever? Death could be as light as a feather or as heavy as a mountain. Whether it was a feather or a mountain, it was the judgment of others. At the end of the day, life and death were still controlled by one's own heart. In the eyes of others, Zhai Xingzi and the others might have died out of blind loyalty or stupidity, but the four of them had no regrets in their hearts. In the face of death, the great Tao seemed incomparably clear. The calmness in their hearts was truly the sail towards the great Tao. However, there was always a way out, and the heavenly Tao wouldn't let down those with a pure heart. Just as Bai Qingyu crazily showed off the image of her suppressing the little white dragon to the sky, Zhai Xingzi and Zhang Daoran saw that the humans were already surrounded by tens of thousands of demonic beasts, and all their efforts were about to turn into flowing water. Just as they were about to die, they saw a towering killing intent rushing towards them from another direction behind them. Streams of heaven and earth origin energy condensed into a complete chi wave and poured down like a tidal wave. This scene was akin to tens of thousands of nascent soul cultivators circulating their magic power at the same time. It wasn't something they had seen before. They couldn't help but be shocked, and their faces turned even paler. Could it be? The two of them thought at the same time. Is this another ambush by Qingyu? Could it be that she thinks that all the Dao Gate cultivators of the hidden immortal mainland will come to save Xiaohua? As they thought about it, they still released their divine sense. When they saw the tens of thousands of Fortune Gate disciples 1,000 miles away, their eyeballs almost fell to the ground. The two of them looked at each other and cried out, "No? No way, right?" All the nascent soul cultivators of the hidden immortal mainland came to save Xiaohua. Zhai Xingzi's voice trembled as he said to Gusu Qiudi in surprise, We're saved." Gusu Qiudi's injuries were extremely severe. She was no longer able to release her divine sense, much less use the eye-clearing technique. She also looked into the distance in shock. Her mouth was slightly agape as she asked curiously, "Could it be that they are our reinforcements?" Phew! Zhai Xingzi took a deep breath and said, "That's right. In order to save Taoist Master Xiao, all the Taoist cultivators in the hidden immortal continent have come." "How is this possible?" Gusu Qiudi shouted, "Although Taoist Zhao's benevolence is unparalleled in the world, but his charm doesn't seem to be enough to make all the Taoist cultivators of the hidden immortal continent come to his rescue, right?" "That's right. We've all underestimated Taoist Master Xiao." Zhai Xingzi smiled. "If he can show kindness to us, he can naturally show kindness to other cultivators as well." Looks like Gongshu Exen is really blind. What does this have to do with Gongshu Exen? Gusu Qiudi pouted and snuggled into Zhai Xingzi's arms. "Looks like we still have time, that's right." Zhai Xingzi hugged Gusu Qiudi and looked at his opponent. Those by Qingyu demons were also stunned. They all left Zhai Xingzi and the others and flew to other places to check out the situation. "Xiaohua! Xiaohua! Xiaohua!" Sun Kong Shangren was almost killed by that demon general. At this moment, he had just flown to Zhang Daeran's side. He also released his divine sense. Seeing such a magnificent scene, he couldn't help but slap his own thigh. "Damn it, I really admire you. If I knew that you'd be able to convince the entire hidden immortal continent, I wouldn't have risked my life to come and save you." However, after a moment, Sun Kong Shangren was bewildered again. He asked in a low voice, "Brother Daoran, looking at the situation, I'm afraid there are more than 300,000 nascent soul cultivators? Can our hidden immortal continent have so many nascent soul cultivators?" "That's right." Zhang Daoran was also at a loss. He patted his head and smiled bitterly. "I can be considered an out-of-body grandmaster. How can I still be so ignorant? How come I never knew there were so many nascent soul cultivators in the hidden immortal continent?" As Zhang Daoran was talking, he suddenly felt a chill in his heart. He activated his spiritual power, and the snow flew up. Not only did it protect him and Sun Kong Shangren, but it also protected Zhai Xingzi and Gusu Qiudi. Then, he turned his head and looked behind him. He said coldly, "What? I just fought with the demon race. Are you going to loot a burning house? Is the Xianhuang token so shameless?" Behind Zhang Daoran and the others, more than 10 Confucian cultivators of the Xianhuang token had quietly surrounded them. The leading Confucian cultivator had already taken out his weapon. Hearing Zhang Daoran's reprimand, the Confucian cultivator smiled and said, "Hee, we're assassins. We only know how to follow orders." "Damn it!" Sun Kong Shangren cried bitterly. "I didn't die in the hands of the demon race, but now I'm dying in the hands of the human race. I really can't accept this. Kill." Seeing that hundreds of thousands of nascent soul cultivators were approaching, the Confucian cultivators of the Xianhuang token did not dare to stay any longer. The leading Confucian cultivator ordered, and more than 10 Confucian cultivators activated their spiritual qi at the same time. Pillars of oran qi rushed out of the void. Not only did they fall on the Confucian cultivators, but they also surrounded Zhang Daoran and the others. Zhang Daoran and the others were no match for the Confucian cultivators of the Xianhuang token. Now that they were seriously injured, how could they fight back? Under the orange chi, Zhang Daoran's snow was knocked away, and the murderous brilliance approached the four again. Damn it! At this critical moment, a voice that all four of them were familiar with rang out. Then, with a rumble, high up in the sky, layer after layer of lightning suddenly appeared. Then, like the wrath of the gods, it violently poured down, enveloping an area of over 10 miles. The lightning was so ferocious that each strand of lightning was filled with anger. Each strand of light could blind a person's eyes. In the eyes of Zhang Daoran and the others, the almost unstoppable attacks of the Xianhuang token cultivators were instantly turned into nothingness when they touched the thunder. The entire space of more than 10 miles was distorted by the impact of the thunder. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 fifth-grade elemental energy chi refinement cultivators and divine Confucian cultivators were turned into blood stains amidst the lightning. In this blood fog, the primordial spirits of more than 10 Confucian cultivators had no chance to escape at all. They were all killed by the thunder. Gusu Chiodi was stunned. She was a Confucian cultivator of the middle 5th grade. How could she not know the power of these Confucian cultivators who were close to the 6th grade? But these cultivators were killed in an instant. What was the cultivation of the person who killed them? Xiaohua? Zhai Xingzi looked at the boiling thunder in front of him and thought of the familiar voice from before. It seemed that every thunder had Xiaohua's smiling face. He could not help but cry out, tears flowing out of his eyes. Impossible! Gusu Chiodi and Zhai Xingzi's minds were connected. She shouted first, no matter how powerful Taoist Xiao is, he can only reach the 6th grade in 200 years at most. If this is Xiaohua, then Gongshu Isin should dig out her own eyeballs. At this point, Sun Kong shouted loudly, of course it's impossible. Taoist Xiao is still suppressed under the fire pillar. Zhang Daoran and the others hurriedly turned around. Sure enough, the little white dragon under the fire pillar was still struggling. Kill for lousy. At this moment, a hysterical roar came from the distant sky. This by Qingyu actually dared to insult Master. Does she even put lousy, a black bear guard, in her eyes? If I don't flatten by Qingyu today, lousy will guard Master's back door. What? Black bear spirit? Zhang Daoran had never been to Black Wind Ridge, so he naturally did not know about black bears. When he saw the black bear spirit, he exclaimed, Why is it a demon? Oh no. Gusu Chiodi was the most attentive. She laughed and said, didn't you hear what he said? If she insulted his master, then isn't his master Xiaohua? But Zhai Xingzi frowned even more. This black bear spirit is probably at the 6th grade of essence energy, or even close to the 7th grade, right? How could he guard Xiaohua's back door? At this moment, beside the black bear spirit, White Lion and Golden Condor also appeared. Each of them had a monstrous aura and covered the ground. They shouted loudly, Massacre by Qingyu and vent Master's anger. How could Xiaohua have 3 demons at the 6th grade of essence energy guarding his abode? Sun Kong was also completely confused. Woo! Just at this moment, a powerful divine sense came from the distance like a hurricane. It wrapped around Sun Kong and the others and immediately stopped. The divine sense didn't withdraw, and it actually completely sealed off the area. Damn it, which senior is this? Feeling the power of the divine sense and the wonder of its use, Zhang Daoran, who was already numb from the shock of surprise, said with a bitter smile, Is this protecting us? Brother Daoran. At this moment, a distorted light figure was cast over from afar like the brilliance of a kaleidoscope. When that light figure condensed into a human figure in front of Zhang Daoran, that human figure bowed and saluted. Say, Taoist Master Jingting? Although Zhang Daoran wasn't particularly familiar with Taoist Master Jingting, he always looked familiar. Now that he saw Taoist Master Jingting standing in front of him with a smile, he couldn't help but be bewildered. He cried out in surprise, You When did you actually cultivate to the body integration realm? At this moment, the light shadow behind Taoist Jingting was still swaying and hadn't completely disappeared. The space within 1,000 feet began to ripple. Waves of ripples sprayed out from the space like a fountain. A moment later, another cultivator with an extraordinary bearing appeared from within. Xian Songzi? Zhai Xingzi shouted as if he had seen a ghost. You and this old man made an appointment to attend the Jadestage gathering together at Yaode Mountain. When this old man didn't see you, I thought something happened to you. How come it's only been 200 years, and you've also cultivated to the body integration realm? What kind of opportunity did you encounter? Chapter 4374. Greetings, fellow Taoist Zhai Xingzi. Xian Songzi revealed a smile at the corner of his mouth. He withdrew the essence soul restriction that sealed the surroundings of Zhai Xingzi and the others before bowing and saying, Junior brother Jingting and I have come under master's orders to protect the four of you. Your master? Sun Kong frowned and asked curiously, Your master is Grand Mist Ancestor, right? He seems to have an ordinary relationship with us. Taoist Jingting laughed and said, My master. Zhai Xingzi and the others immediately pricked up their ears, wanting to know who Taoist Jingting and Xian Songzi's master was. Unfortunately, Xian Songzi interrupted Taoist Jingting and said with a smile, Master only ordered us to protect the four of you. He didn't tell us to reveal his name. All right. Taoist Master Jingting smiled. Of course, he knew that Xiaohua didn't care about revealing his name. However, looking at Xiaohua under the fire pillar in the distance, Taoist Master Jingting was also bewildered. He simply followed Xian Songzi's words and said, In that case, let's wait for Master's orders. It must be Xiaohua. Although Taoist Jingting and Xian Songzi didn't say it, Gusu Qiudi said, Gongshu Isin is going to gouge her eyes out. How do you know? Zhai Xingzi asked in confusion. There are 3 reasons. Gusu Qiudi said with a smile. First, the voice just now was Xiaohua's voice. Second, Taoist Jingting and Xian Songzi can cultivate from nascent soul to body fusion. It's not strange that Xiaohua can cultivate to 9th grade. Third, a woman's intuition. Zhai Xingzi hugged his lover and laughed. If it's really Xiaohua, then I'll invite Taoist Xiao to the Gusu family to propose marriage. I'd like to see who dares to not give face to a Grand Ascension cultivator. Hee. Gusu Qiudi laughed until her eyes narrowed. She said in a low voice, Even if it's not Xiaohua, it has a lot to do with Xiaohua. Husband can also ask Xiaohua to invite the senior to the Gusu family. If it's Xiaohua then? Zhang Daren pointed at the little white dragon in the fire pillar and asked, Who is this? Xian Songzi took out a pill and handed it to Gusu Qiudi. Fellow Immortal, this is a pill concocted by I. Take it first and see what happens. If it doesn't work, I will ask Martial Uncle to bestow upon you the medicinal pills used by Confucian cultivators. All right. Gusu Qiudi smiled as she took the pill. However, she suddenly realized something and exclaimed, What? You have an uncle master? What is his cultivation level? Hee. Xian Songzi replied in a boastful manner, What do you think, fellow Immortal? Your master is already at the Mahayana stage. Martial Uncle should be a literary sage, right? Gusu Qiudi probed. Could it be that he's a literary star? This is impossible. Fellow Immortal, you don't have to guess anymore. Taoist Jingting said with a smile. For fellow Taoists, please follow us to Bai Qingyu. Master has instructed us to attend Qing Bo's banquet. Fellow Taoists. Exalted Master Sun Kong wasn't particularly familiar with Taoist Jingting and Xian Songzi. He bowed and said, If possible, I would like to ask the 2 fellow Taoists to lend a hand and ask the 2 fellow Taoists master to save Taoist Xiao. Fellow Taoist, don't worry. Taoist Jingting said with a smile, Master brought 200,000 disciples to save him. 4 thunderbolts blasted Zhai Xingzi, Gusu Qiudi, Zhang Daoran, and Exalted Master Sun Kong unconscious. After half a cup of tea's time, Gusu Qiudi gasped and said in a low voice, These 200,000 nascent soul cultivators are all your descendants? You're from the same sect? Since when did our hidden immortal continent have a Tao cultivator sect? It was an indescribable shock. They originally thought that these 200,000 nascent soul cultivators were all the Tao cultivators in the entire hidden immortal continent, but Zhang Daoran and the rest didn't expect that these were merely the nascent soul disciples of a Tao cultivator sect. It wasn't that their imagination wasn't rich enough, it was because they didn't dare to imagine. Let's talk about this after we meet Master. Xian Songzi and Taoist Jing Ting smiled without saying anything. They raised their hands and said, "Please." Gusu Chiodi thought that she had discovered the truth of the matter, but when she heard that there was another Confucian cultivator who was at least a literary saint, she lost all confidence in her guess. Although Xiao Hua could miraculously cultivate to the Grand Ascension stage, where would he find another literary saint junior brother up? When Zhai Xingzi and the rest fell into a dead end, Xiong Yi and the rest of the Fortune Gates disciples were also in a desperate situation. Xiong Yi couldn't help but want to roar as he watched his disciples die in front of him. He activated his sword pillar and killed one demon soldier after another, but how could the lives of these demon soldiers be compared to the lives of the Fortune Gates disciples? Xiong Yi's heart was bleeding. Prince Lan's mood wasn't any better. He regretted not killing Xiong Yi outside the battlefield so that he could bring these Fortune Gates disciples back to the soaring Dragon Mountain range. Seeing that Xiong Yi was blocked by a demon general, Prince Lan hurriedly released his divine sense to search for Taoist Master Qing Su, who was hiding among the Fortune Gates disciples. Prince Lan. Sure enough, Taoist Master Qing Su's voice sounded 1,000 zhang away from Prince Lan. Are you going to make a move? Prince Lan, it's not too late to make a move now. If you delay any longer, all of Bai Qingyu's demon soldiers will surround us and we won't even be able to escape. Another voice sounded. Prince Lan was shocked. Venerable Master Fan Tian? When did you arrive? Not just me. Venerable Master Fan Tian laughed. The ancestor has also sent over a dozen nascent soul and leaving aperture realm cultivators to help you. As long as you give the order now, we will immediately make you the master of the soaring Dragon Mountain range. Otherwise, we will prepare to retreat now. After all, Bai Qingyu isn't someone a few nascent soul realm cultivators like us can defeat. Fine. Prince Lan looked at the corpses all over the ground. Humans and demons were mixed together. He gritted his teeth and said, "I've decided." Right at this time, the 200,000 Fortune Gates iron-blooded disciples drove their lightning boats out from the left. Their imposing aura filled the entire battlefield. Not only Prince Lan and Xiong Yi, but even Taoist Qing Su and Venerable Master Fan Tian were shocked. When the Fortune Gates disciples came closer and everyone's divine sense swept over them, they couldn't help but be surprised and delighted. Xiong Yi controlled his sword pillar to dodge the demon general's attack and shouted, "Disciples, our human race has reinforcements. Several 100,000 nascent soul realm disciples are enough to flatten Bai Qingyu. Kill, yes." All of the soaring Dragon Mountain range's disciples didn't know what was going on, but their hearts were filled with hope and their morale was greatly boosted. Venerable Master Fan Tian. Prince Lan was also in a daze. He transmitted his voice to Venerable Master Fan Tian. Are these the cultivators you mentioned? The ancestor actually has so many disciples? Venerable Master Fan Tian naturally didn't understand what was going on, but when he heard Prince Lan's question he replied proudly, "Of course they aren't my disciples. However, if there is a possibility, then there is only one possibility. This is the ancestor's arrangement. In this world, only our Grand Mist ancestor has such a big hand." At this point, how could Prince Lan not know what to do? He roared and pounced towards the demon general. How could Venerable Master Fan Tian not understand the meaning behind his words? Venerable Master Qing Su leaped up and pounced on Xiong Yi. Kill for me." At this time, in the distant sky, the black bear spirit's hysterical roar entered Prince Lan's and the others' ears. Prince Lan turned pale with fright and hurriedly released his divine sense. The black bear spirit, who hadn't appeared in the sky a moment ago, had actually activated his demonic cloud and revealed the strength of a 6th-grade Origin Chi Realm Great Demon. Beside him, the Golden Eagle and White Lion also revealed their figures. Not good. Prince Lan frantically shouted, This is my Fortune Gate's disciple. Venerable Master Qing Su and Venerable Master Fan Tian were about to attack, but when they heard Prince Lan's shout, their hearts trembled and they quickly stopped. The two of them looked at each other and quietly retreated. Xiong Yi, who was facing countless murderous intents, naturally didn't notice Venerable Master Qing Su and Venerable Master Fan Tian's ambush. When he heard the Black Bear spirits roar and Prince Lan's shout, he hurriedly withdrew and released his divine sense. Sure enough, in the sky behind him, the Golden Eagle spread its wings and swept away all the snowflakes floating in the air. Its huge demonic body revealed the strength of a 6th-grade Origin Chi Realm cultivator. What's going on? Xiong Yi was stunned. He hurriedly urged his body to fly up into the sky. At this time, a voice came from not far away. Is Brother Xiong in front? Xiong Yi was slightly taken aback and hurriedly turned his head. He saw Venerable Master Qing Su and Venerable Master Fan Tian flying over with smiles on their faces. Venerable Master Qing Su? Xiong Yi had seen Venerable Master Qing Su in front of the Yaotai Mountain. He was a little surprised to see Venerable Master Qing Su here. We are under the orders of the Grand Mist Ancestor to bring a dozen cultivators to rescue Venerable Shao. Venerable Master Qing Su explained sincerely. When Xiong Yi heard this, a smile appeared on his face. He bowed and said, Thank you, brother. Thank you for your concern for my master. You're welcome. Venerable Master Qing Su helped Xiong Yi up with a smile and said, You and I are both from the Dao sect. When one of us is in trouble, we naturally need help from all sides. Currently, in the hidden Immortal continent, only Venerable Shao can enter my master's eyes. How can my master not come to rescue Venerable Shao? At this point, Venerable Master Qing Su said with a puzzled expression, But what's going on with these hundreds of thousands of cultivators? Xiong Yi smiled bitterly and said, I don't know either. When I figure it out, I will tell you in detail. In addition, when Bai Qingyu's matter is over, I will inform my master of your great kindness and ask him to make a decision. Well said, well said. We'll talk about everything after this matter is over. Venerable Master Qing Su smiled and turned to Venerable Master Fan Tian and said, Senior Brother Fan Tian, how about we join hands and attack Bai Qingyu? Okay. Venerable Master Fan Tian laughed loudly. The two of them no longer spoke to Xiong Yi and attacked Bai Qingyu with their techniques. Chapter 4375. Senior Brother Xiong, what is going on? Cold sweat dripped down Lan's back. He flew to Xiong Yi's side and asked loudly, Are these hundreds of thousands of disciples really my Fortune Gate's disciples? How would I know? Xiong Yi felt an indescribable joy in his heart, but he still lowered his voice and said, I'm just using them to boost the disciples' morale. As for the details, I'll have to ask Black Bear. Let's go. Prince Lan had a guilty conscience, so he was naturally nervous as he urged Xiong Yi. Xiong Yi and Lan flew high up in the sky and were immediately spotted by the Golden Condor. The Golden Condor flapped its wings and arrived in front of the two before Black Bear. It transformed into its human form and bowed. Golden Condor greets the two young masters. Are you really the Golden Condor? Lan was in disbelief. After all, the Golden Condor's ferocious aura was much stronger than the demonic beast generals he had encountered before. Yes, this lowly one is the Golden Condor. The Golden Condor replied indifferently. Although it addressed Lan as the young master, it was Xiaohua's demonic beast guardian. From its point of view, it was closer to Xiaohua. Are these hundreds of thousands of nascent soul cultivators my Fortune Gate's disciples? Xiong Yi asked again. The Golden Condor nodded. These 200,000 disciples are the Fortune Gate's disciples personally trained by Master. How is that possible? Prince Lan exclaimed. Hasn't he been suppressed by monster monarch Bikinjiu all these years? How could he train so many nascent soul cultivators? At this moment, The 200,000 iron-blooded army had already charged past Xiong Yi and His Highness Lan. The two thunderbolts rumbled as they charged towards the depths of Bai Qingyu. Bai Qingyu's demons didn't put up much resistance in this torrent and were all killed. Even if there were dozens of 6th-grade demonic beast generals, there were still severed divinity stage disciples among the Fortune Gates disciples who flew out and killed them. How could Lan believe that every single Fortune Gates disciple had a higher cultivation than him? The one suppressed by Bai Qingyu wasn't Master. The Golden Condor replied, "As for how Master trained these disciples, he will naturally explain it to the young Master." Xiong Yi, Prince Lan. At this moment, the black bear spirit flew over. After calling out to them affectionately, he seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly kept his wild waves. He bowed and said, "Black Bear greets the two young sect masters." Seeing Black Bear being so respectful towards him, Xiong Yi smiled and said, "Now that you are a 6th-grade essence energy, this Xiong is merely a 4th-grade essence energy. You are the Xiong Senior." I don't dare. Black Bear was a little arrogant, but he was only respectful. Black Bear is only the old master's gatekeeper. I can't be compared to young sect master. Where is Master? His Highness Lan asked again. I don't know either. Black Bear laughed. Master has already arrived a step earlier. I don't know where he went. See. His Highness Lan was shocked, and cold sweat immediately appeared on his back. Black Bear, tell me honestly. You are already at 6th-grade essence force. Where is Master? Xiong Yi had a clear conscience, and there was only ecstasy in his heart. He understood that since Xiao Hua was able to nurture an ordinary Fortune Gate disciple into a nascent soul realm cultivator, and even a nascent soul realm cultivator, then as Xiao Hua's disciple his future was limitless. Does that even need to be said? White Lion also flew over and laughed. From today onwards, our Fortune Gates disciples can do whatever they want in the 3 mainlands. This is too inconceivable, too inconceivable. Xiong Yi really didn't know how to express his incomparably wild emotions. Bear Palm Sect Master? At this time, Ingpa also flew over and shouted, "What's going on?" "Ah, my master is here." Xiong Yi laughed loudly. These 200,000 nascent soul realm disciples are all my Fortune Gates disciples. That's impossible, right? Ingpa was still alive, and he looked at everyone in confusion. He then looked at the little white dragon inside the fire pillar and said, "If Master Xiao is here, then who is being suppressed under the fire pillar?" Black Bear Spirit shrugged and shook his head. "Old Master didn't say, so I don't know either." Boom! At this time, a burst of devil chi soared into the sky, and a figure flashed by. Bai Qingyu, a 7th-grade essence force great beast, was killed, and the commotion immediately attracted everyone's attention. Is that Yuanya? Prince Lan's eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. When did he become so fierce? The fierceness is yet to come. Black Bear Spirit laughed. Black Bear is about to swallow the sun, and Ya is Old Master's inner disciple. How can he be worse than Black Bear? Black Bear Spirit said in a low voice, "Xiong Yi, I boasted in front of Master that I would massacre Bai Qingyu. You also know that I can fight alone, but when it comes to mobilizing troops, I'm not even fit to carry your shoes. You have to help me." "Oh, these disciples don't know you. Just give the order, I'll pass it to you." Xiong Yi laughed and said, "With these 200,000 disciples, why would I need to mobilize troops? Wouldn't it be easier to just flatten Bai Qingyu?" Hee. Black Bear Spirit only laughed and didn't dare to reply. Since Xiong Yi said so, he naturally didn't dare to be careless. He released his divine sense and began to pass down the order. Xiong Yi was even more shocked when he saw the 200,000 disciples advancing in an orderly manner. This was clearly an army that had been on the battlefield for a long time. With such an army, who in the 3 mainlands could be the Fortune Gates opponent? Xiong Yi had never seen such a battle formation before. Xiaohua was also anxious. Seeing the little white dragon suppressed by the fire pillar and the Fortune Gates disciples fighting on the battlefield, he sent out 200,000 Fortune Gates Iron Army. Back in the ruins, when the devil race invaded, The Fortune Gate only sent out 200,000 disciples. Those 200,000 disciples roamed the southwest of the ruins, saved 8 sects from danger, and defeated the devil race. Their fame spread far and wide. Now, how could a small Bai Qingyu compare to the devil race? Although these 200,000 disciples weren't all the original 200,000 disciples, the main force was still there. Facing Bai Qingyu's demon soldiers and generals, these 200,000 Fortune Gate's disciples were like a flood that washed over the land. The several 100,000 demonic beast cultivators who tried to resist were like small ripples in the water as they were annihilated. The several 100,000 demonic beast cultivators who were holding back the rear also hurried over to meet the battle. Seeing such an unstoppable attack, Xiongyi was shocked. He flew to the black bear spirit's side and opened his mouth, but no words came out. Not only were these Fortune Gate's disciples powerful, but their teamwork was also very good. More importantly, there was a cultivator who was better at commanding than him. Xiongyi had already noticed that after he gave out his orders, the Fortune Gate's disciples would complete their tasks to the letter. Moreover, they would also reorganize some details that he hadn't thought of. Moreover, this situation didn't happen in one place, but in different areas of the 200,000 disciples. In other words, there were many disciples who were commanding the battle. At this point, Xiongyi was too embarrassed to give any orders. He looked at the black bear spirit and said, "Black Bear, Master asked you to command this battle, because he has a card up his sleeve. Why are you pulling me?" Is that so?" The black bear spirit naturally couldn't see the reason. He scratched his head and said, "How would I know? I'm just afraid of messing up Master's plan." "Then what do you think we should do?" "Easy." Xiongyi looked at Prince Lan, then at the golden condor and white lion. He smiled and said, "Just 5 words." Say it. The black bear spirit urged. "Bathe Bai Qingyu in blood." Xiongyi replied word by word. "That's right, massacre." The black bear spirit snorted coldly, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. Master is benevolent. If he wasn't forced, he would never give orders like this. Xiongyi smiled, but the smile on his face was cold. He replied, "However, we lost more than half of our Fortune Gate's disciples in this battle. Do you think the Fortune Gate's disciples you brought will show mercy?" Kill. The black bear spirit understood and shouted, "Massacre Bai Qingyu." Naturally, there was no need for the black bear spirit to say the word kill. The Fortune Gate's disciples from the Shenhua continent flew over and saw the corpses on the ground. There was no lack of humans among them. Their eyes had long turned red. The lightning above the lightning boats were like swords, while the treasures below the boats were like blades. The blades and swords fell on Bai Qingyu's demonic beasts, reaping their lives every time. The demonic beasts' lives and blood were washing away the humiliation they had inflicted on Taoist Xiao. While Zhai Xingzi, Xiongyi, Ao Sheng, and Ao Zhantian were ecstatic to have escaped death, the 3 beast kings and the group of demonic beasts near Bai Qingyu's heavenly dam water prison were in a predicament. These demonic beast clansmen who were gulping down wine, meat, and slaughtering demonic beasts as appetizers laughed heartily when they saw the appearance of the 200,000 Fortune Gate disciples. They thought that it was another free meal. However, when they saw the Fortune Gate disciples slaughtering the demonic beast clansmen, destroying Bai Qingyu's demonic beast formation like a hot knife through butter, and the 2 lightning ships approaching the heavenly dam water prison, they were dumbfounded. "My eyes aren't playing tricks on me, right?" Peng Jun looked at the light screen in disbelief and released his primordial sense. His primordial sense swept across the battlefield like a mountain. The killing intent of the hundreds of thousands of disciples almost destroyed his primordial sense. Peng Jun couldn't help but ask. And Quan was also dumbfounded. Could it be that the Tao Gate's cultivators from the hidden Immortal continent are all here for Taoist Xiaohua? How is that possible? Bai Qing's body flashed with a 5-colored halo as he replied coldly, "Even the entire hidden Immortal continent can't have so many high-level cultivators, right? Then where did these humans come from? It seems like we didn't receive any information at all, right?" Peng Jun frowned. Who cares where they came from? Bai Qing laughed loudly. Right now, not only do we have Bai Qingyu's demonic beasts, but we also have the demonic beasts from Shrouding Sky Ridge and Ancient Bell Mountain. Why would we be afraid of these hundreds of thousands of humans? Do you think these demonic beasts in front of us are pushovers? I originally thought that this would be a feast, and these human cultivators were merely appetizers. Who would have thought that they would actually become a feast? Brothers. Chapter 4376. Yes. The group of great demons stood up proudly and replied while wiping the blood from their mouths. Assemble all of Bai Qingyu's demon soldiers and kill the humans. Bai Qing ordered coldly, completely disregarding the hundreds of thousands of nascent soul cultivators. Yes, Your Majesty. The great demons received the order and moved their demon clouds. The two demon kings, Peng Jun and Ni Quan, also looked at each other and ordered the remaining great demons, you all also lead all the men to fight against the humans. The group of great demons left, leaving only the three demon kings and other demon attendants at the foot of the mountain. Ni Quan raised his head to look at Xiao Hua under the fire pillar and said with a smile, the humans are the most cunning. Brother demon, you have to be careful. Don't fall for the humans' trick of luring the tiger away from the mountain. Trick of luring the tiger away from the mountain? Bai Qing's tone was full of disdain as she replied, Brother demon, have you forgotten? The humans also have a saying that all schemes and tricks are nothing in front of strength. Do you think that the human cultivators can succeed in their schemes in front of us demon kings? Brother demon, you better not be too careless. Ni Quan said with some worry, this is 200,000 nascent soul cultivators. I have never heard that the hidden immortal continent has so many Taoist disciples. If it's really a trick of luring the tiger away from the mountain, this is a bit too much. Peng Jun's eyes flickered with golden light as he looked at the battle in the distance and said indifferently, Xiao Hua, who is only at the 4th or 5th grade of essence energy, is it worth it? Suddenly, Ni Quan opened his mouth again and asked very strangely, Brother Peng, I still don't understand one thing. I didn't dare to ask before. At this point, I think it's better to ask? What question does Brother Demon have? Could it be that we haven't been frank enough? Peng Jun was stunned. It's not a big question. Ni Quan glanced at Bai Qing and asked, Brother Peng seems to want to get some information from Xiao Hua, right? Since he's not willing to answer, why can't we search his soul? Although our demon race's soul-searching method can't compare to the humans, it's still better than interrogating for 100 years, right? I'll have to ask Brother Bai to answer this question. Peng Jun's face twitched slightly, revealing a smile yet not a smile as he replied. Bai Qing didn't hide anything and replied, I've thought about this before. However, the soul-searching technique of the demon race is different from that of the human race. Moreover, I've also asked the Confucian cultivators of the human race. They said that the Taoist sect is the best at soul-searching. However, the Confucian cultivator had also said that no matter how brilliant the soul-searching technique was, there was always a chance of failure. So, at this point, Bai Qing pointed at a certain spot in the air and said in a low voice, Ancestor doesn't allow it. Alright, then I understand. When Ni Quan heard the old ancestor's name, respect immediately appeared on his face. He knew that the information Bai Qingyu wanted was too important and couldn't be careless in the slightest. He turned his head again, looked around, and said with a smile, Apart from the banquet, we've also invited you into our trap. I wonder if the two demon brothers will be able to find any clues in this battle. We still don't know if there's any progress on the matter we're waiting for. However, it seems that Brother Ni's matter has already been ruined. Peng Jun replied with a faint smile. Ni Quan nodded and said, although there hasn't been any news, looking at the situation, there's a more powerful enemy after these humans. This enemy isn't someone that our ancient Bell Mountain can compare to. Anyway, it's just a setup in the human race. If it doesn't work this time, there'll be a next time. Boom! At this moment, a strong wind roared in the distant sky, and several thick five-colored light pillars soared into the sky. However, the beam of light disappeared in a flash, leaving no trace behind. It's indeed a diversion. Peng Jun laughed and said with a sweep of the golden light in his eyes. However, after a moment, his face changed slightly, and he said in a low voice, "Oh no, the enemy seems to be quite powerful or has some special divine ability. I can't find any trace of it." Bai Qing was also slightly stunned. She glanced at Peng Jun and asked curiously, "Even Brother Peng can't find it?" Peng Jun's face became more and more serious, and he said in a low voice, "It seems that we're going to have some trouble." "Brother Bai, have you informed the star-concealing lake about today's battle?" An Quan asked hurriedly. Bai Qing replied, "In addition, if Brother Yao has informed, then I'll inform too." When Peng Jun heard this, his face showed a trace of relief, and he said, "That's good. That's good. If something really goes wrong, we won't be able to explain it." An Quan was even more curious, and he transmitted his voice, "Brother Peng, what do you want to ask? It seems that you're more nervous than Bai Qing." I can't say. Peng Jun smiled and didn't answer. An Quan was about to speak again. Buzz. Suddenly, the weather within a radius of 100 miles changed. The dark clouds suddenly began to roar like waves, and thousands of vortexes formed in midair. Each vortex had wisps of lightning flashing in it. The three monster kings turned pale with fright when they felt the will that was even more vast than the mountains slowly descending from the clouds. After receiving the three beast kings' orders, the group of greater demons led their troops out to meet the Fortune Gate's disciples head-on. The dozen or so greater demons had yet to wipe the blood from the corners of their mouths, and they immediately released their demonic chi. With demonic clouds and demonic weapons in their hands, they charged towards the Fortune Gate's disciples. In the eyes of these greater demons, a grade 4 nascent soul cultivator was just an appetizer, even if there were 200,000 of them. Xiong Yi was alarmed when he saw the greater demons flying towards them from afar. He hurriedly shouted, "Black Bear, quick, order the army to get into formation. This is a grade 7 nascent soul realm greater demon. It's not something we can deal with." "Okay." Although Black Bear answered, the disdain in his eyes was obvious. After witnessing the bloody battle between the human race and the devil race, no one would be too concerned about these demonic beasts. "Get into formation and meet the enemy." Black Bear roared in midair. "Gotcha!" Huge lightning bolts emerged from the two lightning boats at the same time. The lightning bolts intersected and protected the two lightning boats. Furthermore, after the two lightning boats stopped, lightning bolts appeared on the surface of the flying boats. These lightning bolts formed a net that spread out in all directions. When the 200,000 nascent soul cultivators saw that the two lightning boats had stopped, they also stopped their attacks. However, they did not stop. Instead, they flew in an extremely orderly manner. Some flew to the left, some to the right, and some even flew off into the distance. However, in the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the 200,000 nascent soul cultivators split into 108 small groups and surrounded the Heaven Dam water prison's light pillar. Boom, boom, boom. The moment the 108 small groups appeared, the entire ground shook. Countless amounts of heaven and earth origin energy condensed into thumb-sized crystal lights that fell on the 108 small groups. When the yuan chi of heaven and earth landed, the 108 spots simultaneously flashed with brilliance. Obscure ripples soared into the sky and gathered together in a tacit understanding. Then, they descended towards the light pillars and sealed the entire sky dam water prison tightly. This is the capital Heavenly Stars formation. Xiong Yi couldn't help but exclaim when he saw how familiar the light and the fluctuations were. "That's right," Black Bear said proudly. "This is the military formation that General Sun set up based on the Old Master's capital Heavenly Stars formation. Ever since our Fortune Gate's disciples activated it, they have been invincible and have never been defeated." General Sun? Xiong Yi was taken aback. He didn't know who Black Bear was talking about. Black Bear realized that he had misspoken. He chuckled and pointed to the front. "Xiong Yi, look ahead." "Oh?" Xiong Yi smiled. Naturally, he wouldn't ask too much. However, he didn't mind Black Bear changing the topic. However, when Xiong Yi saw the Fortune Gate's disciples flying out from the 108 small groups, he couldn't help but be shocked. he exclaimed in shock. How is this possible? There are actually so many body integration realm disciples? There aren't that many. Most of these disciples are 6th grade Essence Force incarnations. Only a few of them are 7th grade Essence Force incarnations. Black Bear chuckled. He didn't seem to care at all. In the past, Xiaohua had taken away tens of thousands of babies from the soaring Dragon Mountain range. These babies had spent thousands of years in the heavenly prison. Their aptitudes might not be comparable to Lu Yi and the others, but the Xinhua continent's heaven and earth origin energy was unbelievably abundant. Moreover, when these babies cultivated, they were different from Lu Yi and the others. They focused on Dao Sec's magic arts and even lightning arts. Therefore, after thousands of years of focused cultivation, many of the disciples had divine abilities that weren't inferior to Lu Yi and the others. These disciples were the pillars of the Fortune Gate, and at the same time, they were also the elites of the Xinhua continent. After experiencing the ruins and the desolate continent, their knowledge and cultivation had improved greatly. Now, they had all established their own sections. However, there were too many powerful people on the Xinhua continent. Without the permission of the Lightning Sage and Xiaohua, they were still juniors and didn't establish their own sections. Even when Xiaohua had casually pulled them out of the Xinhua continent during the battle here, they had only thought of themselves as ordinary Fortune Gate disciples. Only when the Heavenly Star formation was completed and they were facing a 7th grade Essence Force Great Demon did they reveal their sharpness like an awl entering a sack. Master is really generous. Xiongyi groaned. His mouth was full of bitterness. There were tens of thousands of disciples in the soaring Dragon Mountain range, and the highest cultivation was only 4th grade Nascent Soul Realm. When Xiaohua appeared, he casually took out a Nascent Soul Realm disciple. Moreover, these body integration realm and spirit severing realm cultivators, which had never appeared on the hidden Immortal continent, were hidden among the Nascent Soul Realm cultivators. The offensive formation from before must have been set up by these high-grade disciples. Xiongyi was smiling bitterly when a cold voice sounded from several formations in the distance. Damn feathered beast, you dare to block the way? Hand over your life.